Evening, and welcome to the first of many, hopefully, Select Board meetings in person. Today's date is July 21st, 2021. Welcome back, everybody, to a live virtual broadcast of the Ashland Select Board meeting. The last time we were all here meeting in this room was February 19th, 2020, almost a year and a half ago. That's a long time. But we're able to do meetings and conduct town business via Zoom, so we're grateful for that. So please bear with us as we work out some of the kinks tonight in this broadcast, that we're providing you and the residents a very safe and environment to participate and be part of this meeting, either in person or through the assistance of WACA-TV. We ask that you follow the following protocol for those who wish to remain at home. If you have any questions or wish to participate in citizens' participation portion of the meeting, please use the raise your hand option and we will get to you. We just ask that you be patient as we get through the many that are watching on WACA. At this time, I would like to ask our honored guest, Mr. Ed Bates, if he would join us and in the Pledge of Allegiance, please. So please rise.
Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, Mr. Bates. Before we begin tonight's meeting, this is one of the questions I have to ask everybody. If you're present and you are personally recording this session for whatever reason, just raise your hand and identify yourself. I'm sure some of you may be doing that tonight for this special recording for Mr. Bates, but if not, that's fine. Yeah, we'll give you a copy. So, without further delay, I would open it up for citizens' participation. Anybody here who would like to say anything? Or anybody that's in the waiting room that like anything to say? Okay, Mr. DeSoni, I see that your hand is raised. So, Mark, you're on.
Good evening, and it's good to see the board in one place for once. Understandable that technical difficulties can be real hassle, but you got through it. It looks like a wanted poster for anything but political things. Okay, everything. I wanted to congratulate you on the first agenda item after the citizens' participation. I'd like to say a wonderful, deserving Ed Bates, who's been years and years of doing everything as a citizen and as a participator for the town, just cannot have enough accolades to deserve what he's doing. And I want to just praise him as a citizen. And I've been to many meetings, everything with he was involved in. And he is the mecca of the town to understand that people need to hear or be involved. And with Mr. Bates, Ed Bates there, he's a statue of that. And I appreciate what you're going to be doing and hope that he can live longer to be appreciated of what he's done and to be happy that he's going to get rewarded for it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. Thank you for those kind comments. We have another gentleman whose hand raised. I'm sorry, I don't see your name underneath there.
I think it's me, Prag Singh. Can you all hear me?
Yes, we can. Thank you, sir.
Wonderful. Thank you, respected Select Board, Mr. Chairman, officers from the town. I am Prag Singh, Ashland resident and board member of New England's largest India association called Indian American of Greater Boston, along with officer from Ashland Indian, Nilesh Salvi, along with me. We, first of all, to begin with, truly thank you so much. We never got a chance later on last year. In the middle of COVID, you allowed us to raise the flags of India and US. It was a great opportunity. We truly appreciate that. And from the bottom of our heart, thank you so much for that. And following on the similar thread, we wanted to really put the similar request for 15th of August this year. It's a 75th anniversary of India's independence, and we would really greatly appreciate your kind permission to do the same again at the Town Hall of Ashland in the morning of 15th of August. Let me take a pause if you have any question.
Very good. We are posting a meeting on Friday because we have some other issues that we needed to address. And what we will do is we will add that to this agenda. I don't see it to be an issue at all. I think it's something that everybody agrees upon and we'll look forward to. I know the last time that we met together, we were out in front of the town hall. Chairperson Yolanda was out there hosting the event with all of you. It was a very wonderful event. And all the protocols were in order out there because of the pandemic. Everybody was wearing masks, and I would assume that we'll probably be doing the same again for those people who are still a little cautious about, getting close to people without masks. So I don't see it to be an issue. I think it'll probably be voted unanimously. And so we appreciate your request, and I'm sure you'll hear from us after Friday for sure.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chairman. And I truly would love to see all of you there, along with, of course, our very own Mr. KGN. He helped us last time, big time too, and he is here as well. KGN, would you like to add something, sir?
Sure. I actually, in my personal behalf, I actually want to speak last time when you had a meeting when you selected the replacement for my Board of Health appointment. But I didn't get a chance to do that because you were in the process of appointing somebody. I thank you all for helping me out while I was a CONCOM member and also for appointing me for the CONCOM. And I really appreciate your assistance all through the time period that I had. I'm also thankful to helping us out with this raising of the flag last year and this year probably soon. Thank you again, all of you.
Well, thank you, KG, for all your dedicated service to the town. I know we didn't have an opportunity to thank you in person, but at least we can hear and talk to you right now. So again, thank you for everything you've done for Ashland as well.
Sure.
Well deserved.
Hopefully,
Thank you.
Hopefully I'll be there soon.
Let's hope so. We look forward to having you back in town. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you again.
Thank you very much.
Okay, that's good. Anyone else for citizens' participation at this time? Not seeing any. We will continue going to our scheduled appointments. 7:05. We're a little late, but that's okay. We have all night. I would ask Mr. Ed Bates if you would come forward, please, because there are some things that we would like to talk to you about. And you're one of many individuals. Yep, you come right up front. Thank you. You're one of many individuals that got this Route 126 project on the roll. And you were no...
Going back to the computer.
Yeah, I have to get back. So
That camera's there. There you go. Now everyone can see.
there you go. We wanted to extend our utmost appreciation, not for just 126 project, but for all the years as a dedicated servant to the town of Ashland. You were quite the individual. I remember you as I was growing up when we had...
I'm not that old. I'm not ready.
I know you're not that old, but I do remember you remembering certain festivals and activities a couple of houses down the street from you on Hilldale Road where the Morans used to live. And we were a little rambunctious, to say, at the time when we were growing up. Never mind. And I'm sure that we kept you up many a night with all of that. But it was fun. We had a lot of fun. You probably did, but we had a lot of fun. So I have a couple of things that I would like to do. First of all, I want to read a proclamation that was presented to you by the entire board. This is a select board proclamation, and it states, whereas Ed G. Bates Jr. has been a valued and dedicated member of the Ashland community for over 40 years. And whereas over the years, Ed has held several roles, including a member of the Board of Selectmen, the Water Commission, Charter Review Committee, Ashland Redevelopment Authority, Ashland Historical Commission, talk amongst yourselves, because this list is long. Comprehensive Planning Committee, Ashland Republican Town Committee, the Metropolitan Area Planning Committee, the MWRE Advisory Board, the Tri-Mount Oversight Committee, and the Pond Street Working Group. And whereas Ed was involved in the first renovation of the town hall and the renovation of the Ashland Police Department as its current location, and whereas Ed is a member of the Charter Review Committee when the form of government was changed to a town manager form of government, and whereas Ed presented Ashland's interest in the region by becoming a member of the Metropolitan Planning Council, and whereas Ed was a tireless advocate for the reconstruction of the Pond Street area and to better serve residents and businesses in Ashland, ultimately leading to the start of the construction in 2020. Now therefore, we, the Select Board of the Town of Ashland, do hereby dedicate the roundabout on 126 to Ed Bates for his years of service to the Town of Ashland and its residents. We urge all the residents of Ashland to make it known their appreciation for your devotion and dedication to this town. We wish you good health and very good fortune for the future. Ed, thank you very much. Congratulations. I'm not done.
Thank you.
I'm not done. This is a challenge coin. You know what a challenge coin is, right?
No.
You don't know, he wasn't in the service, I guess.
Yes, I was. It was before they were
Before they were
invented.
invented. Challenge coin is someone provides you this coin. Keep it with you at all times, because if someone has a coin itself and knows that you have a coin, let me see your coin. And if you don't have it, you have to buy them a drink.
Oh, boy, okay,
So
okay.
keep it- So, yeah, you better keep it with you.
I will. I know, because Kathy may have one, or,
And it's a small token of our appreciation.
nice, nice,
But we would like you to have this.
nice.
So when you put this on your mantle,
Oh,
you can
well,
think about us
forever,
forever.
forever,
We'll miss you.
forever. Oh, thank you very
It's
much.
been 40
Thank-
wonderful years.
Thank you very much. Oh, thank
Now, I know you have a few things you
you.
want to
Oh,
say.
yeah. Boy, I'll tell you, somebody had to do a lot of work to prepare this.
Did,
Wow.
did that fit
I
all
don't
on
even
one
remem-
page?
I
Is
don't
that all
even
on
re-
one page?
I don't even remember some of these.
Why, there was a second page you needed to read?
I just want to say a couple of words, if I might. We've just recently moved to the Cape for a variety of reasons. We moved to Ashland in 1973, and this is the greatest town in the state. It really, I've loved Ashland. It's just a tremendous town, tremendous people, tremendous neighborhoods, so we miss Ashland. We do have 2 plots up on the hill, so we are coming back.
Honestly.
Not real soon, hopefully.
And last year, our son who worked for DPW kept them mowed. Well, I just want to say a couple of things about the 126, if I'll be brief. It was a long, long project, and Yolanda knows. She's been on the committee for the last 6, 7, 8, I don't know, years. And Paula Parker, who's been the chairman of the committee. I do recommend that later on, 2 years from now, you change the name of the road to the Paula Parker Boulevard. And is Rob, I expected Rob to be here tonight. Rob is one of the people who objected to the roundabout. He didn't like it. And the person who objected the most was Cliff Wilson. And I have to mention that because every time we had a meeting, Cliff Wilson was objecting, kept on bugging the heck out of me. Finally, I said to Cliff, it's either we get the roundabout or we don't get the project at all. So he says, okay, I won't say anymore. Never said another word. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Ed.
I
Yep,
really appreciate it. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Yeah.
Well,
Mike
I
has a few
just
things he
wanted
wants
to
to say first.
say a couple things. First off, Ed, I can think of nobody else who deserves this honor more.
You and Steve Greenberg were one of my first meetings. I don't know if you remember this, back in May of 2013, and you came with these plans for 126, and you said, you know, we've got this worked out to where if we can do the 25% design, MassDOT will take it over and do the 100% design and put it on the tip. And so that's when we started talking about, well, how can we get this money? Because Ashland was not in a place where we did things unless they were absolutely necessary. You know, things, this was seen as an extra. And of course, this is when we started coming up with the idea of the meals tax and dedicating it for this and economic development. So I will always remember that being one of my first meetings. So,
I do remember Steve and your involvement.
well, I have not played nearly the role that you have in this. The other thing I want to say is, yes, we're naming the roundabout in honor of you. And of course, it's a little bit of a problem because the roundabout's not finished yet. So what we do plan on doing, though, because it could be a couple years, is creating a mock-up of what the sign will be. And we'll obviously give that to you and your family. So, so you'll know what it looks like when it's going to come out there. So
We just
and we
don't-
can get your approval.
I know some of my grandsons down there to keep it mowed if it
Well, they've been great additions to DPW, so.
I just don't want to go over the Sagamore Bridge and see that sign on the rotary out there, that's all. You want to do a photo op? No, unless, any
Just-
other board members who would like to say a few words?
Quickly.
Absolutely.
Ed, I just wanted to congratulate you, and I just wanted to acknowledge your family being here tonight. I think it's just awesome for our first live meeting back. And I don't know many of the folks here, but certainly Kathy and Wayne. The apple doesn't fall far from the tree. Involvement in the town. Kathy, so many years on the school committee, and Wayne, various boards and committees as well. So, thank you for all your service, and congratulations.
I too want to offer my congratulations to Ed and to the family for supporting it, because as we all know, that if one person is involved, somehow the rest of the family is involved, either because they're missing events because of meetings or they have to do events and things like that. I truly am thankful to having the opportunity to get to know Ed. He helped me realize how important working within our region is. And when he stepped down from the MAPC as our town representative, I stepped in, and I really appreciated that opportunity. But getting to work with you on 126, and I remember the first time I read a news article about the Rotary on 126, and my initial response was, what the heck are they thinking? But in looking at it, it made sense, and going through the whole process, it's been great working with you, Ed. Thank you for everything you've done for the town, and thank you for the opportunity I've had to work with you through all of this. And good luck, and we expect to see you back when the Rotary's done.
Absolutely. We want to do a couple of photo quick ops. So if you mind coming back up so we can take a couple of photographs with us, it would be great. Get your lovely wife up here if she would like to join us. We'd love to have her. Come on, Mama. She's just as important as you. If she doesn't say yes, you don't go in.
Good thing you wore your nice shirt there.
I can't wait till it's done. I know.
And we were. Chris was the only one in the class that had a built-in pool. Well, that's right. That's what it was all about. Refreshment. Right. Stay hydrated, my friend. Stay hydrated. Well, that was greatly deserved and a very nice way to start our annual selectmen's meeting again. So it was very nice. Yeah, I'd like to do this. I'd like to do this once a year. Can we? Can we? Do we hear a motion? I guess not. All right, so we go right back into the regular. Okay. We also have scheduled appointments for 7:20. We're not that bad. I have 10 minutes off. That's not bad. Thank you for allowing us to take some of your time away. But as you saw and heard, this was quite an individual, and we're sorry that he moved out of town. Hope he'll come back to visit more than ever. So at 7:20, we have the Corner Spot, and it's 67 Degrees Brewing, and we are looking for one-day licenses for Friday, August 27th, from 4 to 9, Saturday, August 28th, from noon to 9, Sunday, August 29th, from noon to 9, Friday, September 24th, from 4 to 9, Saturday, September 25th, from noon to 9, Sunday, September 26th, from noon to 9, and I believe that's it. There are no other dates, right? I think that was the only dates available? Right, okay. So, anybody here who is gonna speak on this topic on behalf, would you please come up to the microphone? Oh.
Hello.
Virtual, oh, okay. Hello there.
Thank you, members of the board, for having me today. I am Olivia Edward. I'm the manager partner of 67 Degrees based out of Franklin. We are requesting those dates for a one-day permit to have these beer garden pop-ups at the Corner Spot. In part to, be engaged in the community and the communities nearby us. We are a family-owned business in Franklin, Mass, and we pride ourselves on promoting our brand to be around beer, family, and friends. The Corner Spot is a very cozy location. I've been to Ashland many times. One of my favorite places to visit with the family is the state park. And that area, like you guys have done in the past, is a really nice location where people can bring their, kids, friends, families, loved ones, puppies, I'm assuming, and just enjoy a nice pint on a nice day, whether it be a Friday, Saturday, or Sunday, whether listening to tunes or enjoying some food. We are very proud in the craft that we are engaged in, and we would really appreciate if you guys would let us come in and build new relationships, get to know the town, and promote our brand in the Metro West region.
Okay, does any board member have any questions for Mr. Steve?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. Just a quick question, Eduardo, on just a little bit about your business. What kind of beers do you make, and kind of what's your I guess business model in the craft beer industry?
So we make a little bit of everything. We make IPAs, which is what everybody's drinking these days, but we also make a variety of ales, from sours to golden ales for those who are new to the craft beer. We call it our intro beer to craft beer. Our business model is to reintroduce people to some classic styles that people no longer hear about. Ales and lagers that most people can't even think about or even hear about because they're all drinking IPAs. I like IPAs just like everybody else, but we try to diversify the styles that we make to our tap room and distribute on a regular basis, just so people can enjoy all the different styles that are out there and kind of build their palate a little bit. Hopefully break away from the regular your grandfather's beer that you used to pull from the cooler and try some 6-7 degree brews.
Sounds good, Eduardo. Anybody else?
Thank you.
Yep. Yolanda?
So Olivia, this is more for, I guess, Beth. I know we typically try to have food trucks available when there is a brewery here. I just want to verify that that is the case for all of these dates as well.
Yes, if this is to pass this evening, then we'll work on filling those dates with food trucks and catering and whatnot. We will have food there.
Okay, cool.
And we will rope it off as we usually do as well.
Okay.
Yep.
It's the standard procedure that we
Standard,
had? Okay.
yep.
Great. Those were my questions, so you knew I was gonna ask. So.
I know.
Okay, thank you. Go ahead, Brandy.
So my question is, I'm just curious how long you guys have been in business and if you've done similar types of community events in other places as well.
Sure. So we opened last February. So we opened the Saturday before Super Bowl of last year, a little bit before COVID. It was a bit of a exciting year, to say the least. We managed to survive and kept the lights on. Right now we self-distribute throughout the state, and we are in some national retail chains. We have done some of these pop-ups that we are requesting to do. We've done a couple of them in Boston at the Haley House in Roxbury. We are getting ready to do one at Station 117, which is one of the new apartments in Franklin. We will be participating in the Franklin Cultural Council Festival, which is in September, with La Cantina Winery. And we're looking to do a few other ones, hopefully maybe closer to Boston or in some nearby town as well. We think these events are great. It's a great opportunity for people to be outdoors and enjoy the nice weather while it lasts with their friends and family, as opposed to being inside. So.
Okay, great. Well, we find that when we do have breweries that pop up at Corner Spot, it creates a lot of excitement for our community and brings in other people from other communities as well. So it's a good way for us to continue to also support the other businesses that are in downtown, just from the draw of people that are hanging out at Corner Spot having a beer. So
Absolutely.
So we, I think that I think that's all I have. So thank you, and I'm glad that you were able to survive the pandemic and come out the other side. So we hope.
Thank you so much.
We hope to see you at Corner Spot.
Awesome. Thank you.
I just have one question, Olivia. Will you be there? Will you be present during those dates, or will there be somebody
Yes,
else
sir.
working there?
So it'll be me or one of the partners there, but I will be there at least 2 or 3 of the dates.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, all of our servers are tip certified. All of our partners are tip certified. So anyone who will be there will either be a partner or one of our beer tenders.
And they do have all of their paperwork in with Susan as well,
Yeah,
so they've paid all that.
Okay, yep, no, thank you.
And the payment got received today, because it wasn't checked off, so I checked
Right,
with Michael
okay.
and Jen and Diane beforehand, so they're all set.
They're all set? All right, thank you. One last question, that's good. All right, I will entertain a motion at this point.
I move that we approve the multiple one-day liquor licenses for 67 Degrees Brewing, Friday, August 27th from 4 p.m. to 9 p.m., Saturday, August 28th, and Sunday, August 29th from noon to 9, Friday, September 24th from 4 to 9 p.m., and Saturday, September 25th, and Sunday, September 26th from noon to 9.
Do we hear a second?
Second.
Know where
all
I'm
tho-
celebrating my birthday.
We'd be happy to. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 It's 4-0 with 1 absent. So congratulations. We look forward to seeing you, and let's hope that the weather continues to be nice, and if not, bring umbrellas.
Thank you so much.
Say.
Really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. Good luck.
See you soon.
Thank you.
Good night.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Moving right along. And we're not that far off. We're only 8 minutes behind schedule.
Right now.
Right now. That's right. 7:30, we have a request for Kelly Grill with an introduction to the Hopkinton Center of the Arts from Hopkinton. And Yolanda was asked to, she asked us if we could put you on the agenda. So Kelly, come right on up.
Hello.
Hello there.
Hello. So nice to see you all. Thank you for having me. I just wanted to come by and say hello from the Hopkins Center for the Arts. And one of the, part of our big initiative this year is to spread the word that the Hopkins Center for the Arts is a regional art center. And it's sometimes challenging because of our name. Because our name is the Hopkins Center for the Arts. People aren't aware that we actually are a regional art center, and we welcome all of the communities around. Actually, Ashland is the second largest percentage of patronage comes from members of the Ashland community. So we have a couple things that we're doing in order to help us spread that word, and one of the things that we're doing is happening tomorrow evening. We have all free concerts every Friday and Saturday night throughout the summer. And tomorrow night, 2 nights from now, not tomorrow night, working too many nights. Friday night will be Ayla Brown is performing. You might remember her from her American Idol days, and now she's been touring around as a country singer. And we're dubbing that Ashland Night. So if anyone comes to visit us from Ashland, the concert is free. But if you come and tell us that you're from Ashland, you receive a little free gift as well. So a little extra special treatment for you. The concert is outdoors, hopefully again, like these events. It's going to be nice weather. We will have a hot dog food truck, Larry's Hot Dogs, and some ice cream. And it's just a time to get out and to celebrate. So we hope that you all will be able to come to that. But more than that, we're really looking to spread partnerships with the communities around us, to find ways to really spread that message that all of our friends and partners and communities are welcome at the Hopkins Center for the Arts. So we're hoping to start that and looking for ideas that you might have. I did bring some flyers that have all of the concerts for the summer. They will be free all the way through July, and then August we have several theatrical performances that are happening, and then the concerts resume again in September. And then I also have more information about, other things that are happening in the town. I can leave them maybe with Beth. But that really is why I'm here. I'm so appreciative that you gave me a few minutes to say hello, and hopefully we can be doing more and more things together.
Sounds like fun.
Great.
No, go ahead, Bernie.
Oh, sorry.
No, you're good.
I gotta push the button. Okay. So thank you very much for coming tonight. And so if people wanted to find out the schedule of events, is all of this up on your website? Like, what's the best place for people to go to find out what's going on at HCA?
Yes, that's the best place. I do have flyers like this that list out, at least through the end of July, all the things that are happening. I'd love to leave one with you if they want to stop by Town Hall and see it or put it up somewhere. But hopartcenter.org is our website, and all the events are there in our calendar section.
Great.
Thank you.
Good, Steve.
Kelly, nice to meet you. And to go to your point about collaborations and partnerships and so on, the Hopkinton Center for the Arts is actually going to have a presence at a festival that I'm involved in. So we look forward to your presence there.
I'm very excited about that. I actually will be there myself, and it sounds like a awesome day. I'm really excited.
Yeah, hopefully the weather is going to be cooperative, but we've got a nice lineup, local acts, and yeah, it should be fun. I believe it's our 8th festival, so we're starting to get to be a.
You gotta say the name.
Yeah.
People don't know.
Oh, I'm sorry. Kelly knows the name. It's
The
the Dragonfly Festival of Ashland.
Yes, and the Culture Fest is this Saturday?
Culture
Culture
Fest is this
Fest,
Saturday.
yes.
Yeah, different organization that does Culture Fest, but I
Yes.
think to go to Brandy's point earlier about events at the Corner Spot. I mean, there's these events are important. Have become more and more important in town, and I think our community has really embraced them. So
That's great.
we look forward to partnerships.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I love working with Andrea Green and Dragonfly Festival. I'm very excited about Culture Fest on Saturday. I love seeing there's so many amazing amazing talent out there and people that are coming together and showing, and I just feel like art begets art. The more we come together, the more there is. It's great.
One quick question, Kelly.
Mhm.
The concerts, are they at the gazebo in Hopkinton Center, or are they at the location off of Hayden Row?
Excellent question. They are at Hayden Row.
Okay.
So we actually have an amphitheater in the back there, and it can easily seat 200 to 300 people. It's a little deceiving from the road.
Nice, thank you.
Thank you.
We appreciate you being here, and we look forward to this venture. Looks like a lot of fun. And thank you,
so
Yolanda,
much.
for bringing it up. Appreciate it.
Thank you for having
Thank
me.
you.
Have a great night.
Thank you, you too. Just keep our fingers crossed for good weather for the rest of the summer. Because I don't want to grow any fins, for sure. Next on our agenda. Okay, 7:30, the Metro West Visitors Bureau Tourism District presentation. And Mr. Peter Chisholm. Good evening, Peter.
Hi, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Before I start, I want to know, my wife's going actually to see Ella Brown Friday night. She's seen her several times over the years, and 'cause she's a good singer, I went once with her. Also, I wanted to reflect, I wish I'd known Ed Bates was going to be here, because as, Steve knows, and Michael knows, I've been trying to find, and Jen, I'm trying to find out the difference between a roundabout and a rotary. It's the same thing, you go around. But, and also, one final thing, on the challenge coins, I have a very good friend being commissioned in October, and I'll be wearing my 7th Army hat that day, so we can salute each other. He's gonna give me one of the coins, he's already told me that. Anyway, I'm Peter Chisholm, I'm a member of the Metro West Visitors Bureau. I've been a long-time member there, I was even treasurer at one time. And we're here today to urge the Select Board to adopt our motion here to go along with creating the tourism destination marketing district. It comes out of legislation that was passed by the legislature earlier this year on the Economic Development Bill. The idea is for DMDs originally started in California and kind of moved east, and Springfield was a big group behind pushing this legislation. It took about 3 years to pass, but it finally passed. And what it basically, our executive director is also going to speak, and she'll give you the details on it. But it just involves the town voting to accept it, and then of the petition. And then we have to have the hotels in the town have to join, a certain percentage of them. And Ashland, of course, we have the Warren Center Hotel, and they're strongly in favor of it. And their manager, Kim Sternick's actually a member of our board. So, what's basically, you saw the information I left yesterday here, but basically, it's going to add a small fee in hotel rooms. And when the money is spent on advertising, there will be a portion of it dedicated that'll list, in the ads, some destinations in Ashland. Like the Henry Warren's home, or the Clock Tower downtown, or a couple of restaurants like Stone's Public House or the Oregon Club. Things, places like that. So, I think it'll be, well received throughout the Metro West District. We have about 14 member towns, and and we're working, with the hotels in those communities. And there's a lead community, which hope will be Natick, and they, I think you're going to find in a year or two. I mean, it'll take a while to get started, but we'll be able to start, having the funds coming late this year, early next year. They have to go to the state first and then be transferred back to us by the Department of Revenue, and God knows how long that's going to take. But it'll also provide a steady means of flow of income for regional travel boards, because the state has not been a big supporter of those in recent years, and it's very difficult, and you have to advertise. You have to keep the name out there, because tourists just don't automatically think of Massachusetts when they're going to travel, coming from out of state. And we think that, and the other travel boards think that by doing this, it'll help, it'll give us money to really do a lot more advertising nationwide. And that's why we're here tonight, to ask for your support in it. And Aaron will answer the questions. If you have anything generally, you could ask me. I'm might know the answer.
Peter, would you like to introduce the other two
Yeah,
folks
sure.
that are here with you?
Yep. Erin Lynch is she's our executive director. She's from
Hi.
Franklin. She has a lot of experience in managing groups like ours, and she'll be speaking. And then also with these, Steve Levinsky, he's from Natick. He's very active in the arts and council over there too, and puts on shows in Natick. And it's really an artsy night because I'm also a member of the Amazing Things Art Center in Framingham. So,
Very cool.
yeah, but and they'll be about just Erin will be speaking.
Okay, thank
Okay.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Peter.
Yep.
Hi, thank you for having me. I am very excited to be here in person, finally seeing people in person. I started this job about a year and a half ago, approximately 6 weeks or so right before everything shut down from COVID. So it's been an interesting start to my job here, but I feel like I've had a million Zooms with Beth, and I think this is my first time actually meeting Beth Reynolds in person. So it's very nice to be here with you. I want to take this opportunity to commend Beth too, because there's just phenomenal things coming out of that. The economic development in Ashland is incredible, and I think it has a lot of potential to grow. And I think that's what we're really hoping to do with this Tourism Destination Marketing District, which from now on I'm just going to refer to as TDMD because it's quite a mouthful. The TDMD, well, let me back up and say, for those of you who aren't as familiar with the Bureau, our job is to kind of serve as the marketing agent for the region. There are 19 towns that we are charged with promoting, and this is all written into the state legislation. So a lot of people have different ideas of what exactly makes up Metro West, but for us, there are 19 towns, and Ashland is one of those. And because we get the majority of our budget from the state, what we're able to do, our capacity is all at the mercy of the state funding, state budget cuts. The timing of what we do, how we do it, when we do it is all dependent on that right now. So we're really looking to create another source of sustainable funding for our effort to boost the regional economy. This is a phenomenal opportunity for Ashland to lead the way here along with Natick. There are 177 other TDMDs in the country that have been hugely successful. Massachusetts right now does not have any. Springfield is working very hard to do it, as is Boston. We have the opportunity to potentially be the first. And the idea is that it would give the members of that district funding with which they could really shine a spotlight on the incredible things happening here. And what we really want to do is connect the dots for people who are looking to spend either business travel or leisure travel dollars and encourage them to spend it right here in Ashland and in this region as opposed to spending it elsewhere. And we know with Boston nearby and other big cities, a lot of people don't always think of Metro West as, what do you guys want to go away for the weekend? Where do you want to go? Metro West isn't always top of the list. But as we've heard even just tonight, there are so many wonderful performing arts and cultural activities, things happening nearby. And this is an opportunity for us to showcase those and get people spending the night here, converting those day visitors into people who are going to spend the night, spend a couple nights, spend a week, which will all trickle down and boost the economy of the town. So for example, just to be able to put something out and say, hey, come to Culture Fest, come to the Dragonfly Festival, and don't just leave there. Stay and have dinner at Erica's, spend the night at the Warren Center, come the next day and get some bagels at the bagel place and take them to the Ashland State Park. But to really connect those dots for people so that they can start to envision Metro West as a destination where they can spend more time and hopefully more money. So we definitely would like to give you the opportunity to ask questions. Steve is the chair of the Visitors Bureau, and as such would be serving as the chair of the advisory board for the TDMD. The advisory board is the group that would be deciding how we spend all of the funds, and each town that's a part of that district would have a seat on that board. So Ashland would be represented through the Warren Center. And so again, that's a great opportunity for you to decide how we'd be spending that additional marketing dollars.
Cool.
Thank you.
Any questions? Yep, go ahead, Steve.
So thank you for the presentation. So just connect the dots a little bit more for us in
Sure.
terms of how you would be deciding your marketing approach, and whether it's the corner spot, whether it's the farmer's market, whether it's Culture Fest, Dragonfly. How would that work? And would there be any commitments that would be anticipated by organizations that were involved in events?
Sure. So I'll give you a quick answer, and then Steve, please jump in if you. But the process would be that we would have this advisory board formed. The advisory board would have the overall mission to boost the economy of the district. So, you know, when we start, if that's just Ashland and Natick, that would be Ashland and Natick that we're looking to really shine a spotlight on. And then the board would look at any proposals that come before us. You know, for example, if you're running the Dragon Fest and say the Dragonfly Festival and want to, we could really use some more advertising dollars to target this audience, or to buy this billboard, or, you know, I'm just throwing out examples. But that would be presented to the advisory board, and then the board as a whole would determine which projects they think are going to have the greatest impact and how we can fund those.
So just to clarify a little bit, so, you know, I'm a principal in an organization, and I want to promote, or if I understand you, I can actually request marketing dollars through this entity. And so there would be an application path? Is that the plan?
I think there could be possibly two different ways to go about it that we might look at both. So one would be, you know, the board would kind of have its own ideas, you know, people that we would come to the board with their vision for how this is going to go. And, you know, maybe no one puts any proposals forth. We still are going to be making sure that the board is coming up with ideas and funding those and getting those going. And simultaneously, we would have the opportunity for people to submit proposals to us. One of the things that we did this year on the Bureau, we had about $70,000 of mini grants that we were able to give away. You know, the Hopkinton Arts Center and some other groups like that applied and said, you know, it would be great if we could purchase a radio ad for this Ayla Brown concert, et cetera. And then we're able to give some of those dollars to those, so. I think it will be a partnership of both things.
Great, thank you.
Yolanda?
So you said the Visitors Bureau covers 19 towns. Right now, this is looking to go between Natick and Ashland. Are you in the process of then reaching out to the other communities that you cover? And is this just the first step, or have you started reaching out to other people and just hasn't gotten there yet?
Yeah, I think, so what we've seen in the other tourism councils that have tried to initiate this is that the smaller you can start, the more successful you will be. Because of all the logistics of getting it passed and getting it started and implemented, we want to start strong and start small and really build on that success. But ultimately, the idea is that if we can create Metro West as a really vibrant destination, it will benefit everyone the more we can make this robust and include other towns.
Hi, good evening. I'm Steve Levinsky. Yeah, just to build on what Aaron talked about, Westboro is very interested and will probably be the next town that comes in and joins us, probably then followed by Marlboro, and then after that is Framingham. And so we wanted to, we know Beth has been a board member for a long time. I do a lot in Natick, so we thought, let's work with family first and get rolling, and then invite other towns to join us.
Sounds good. Thanks,
Great.
Beth.
It sounds like a great idea, and I had the opportunity to speak with Kim up at the Warren Conference Center, and she is interested in this, and she thinks it's a great idea to sort of do that promotion of what's going on. So it's nice. I think it's a great idea. So thank you for bringing it forward.
Sure. Go ahead, Brandy.
So I agree. I think it's a great idea. I think it'll be beneficial for the whole region. I'm curious as to like how you guys will measure success? Like, is there, I know that part of the reporting is gonna be an annual report to, assuming we approve it, our board and Natick. I'm just curious as to how that's going to, what that looks like for you guys.
Yeah, I think there's, and Aaron, you can hop in. I think there's several ways we'll look at it. So one of the major drivers in getting this passed is putting heads in beds. So we'll be working very closely with the 5 hotels just to look at, are more people coming in? Are they staying? Are they staying longer? Those sort of metrics will certainly be key. And then a lot of the other things with the campaigns we've already started, it gets back to how many click-throughs are we seeing? How effective are the Facebook ads that we're putting out? And so we'll use some real metrics to be able to measure that.
I'll just quickly add that through the State Office of Travel and Tourism, they have a new software that they're using called Arrivalist. And it's a really robust program that I'm still learning how to use. But it has a great feature where you can focus in on towns and even specific destinations. So we could submit a point of interest and say, how has the visitation grown to this point of interest? Oh, and you know, the timing of it, did it coincide with campaigns that we put out there and that kind of thing. So I think we'll have some really good analytics as we go along.
And then one other question, because as part of our packet, there was a budget submitted to us. And so I would assume that if other towns decide to join, the budget would also, that would change as well. And then also, as far as like the anticipated revenue, the 2%, are you starting from an average baseline? Like I'm, just trying to see how that's initially going to get funded.
So just to give you some of the numbers. So in working with the hotels, they're basically saying $125 a night average room rate. They believe they can reach a 70% occupancy throughout the year. I don't believe them, so we built our budget on a 50%. And when you look at that times the 814 room nights that we have available here, that comes up with about $380,000. The intent is to spend $220,000 of that in the regional marketing, and then $160,000 of that back to direct support to towns. So organizations can come forward. It doesn't have to be just marketing dollars. The way the state legislation is written, it can be used for capital projects. It could be used for event sponsorship. I could, whoever wrote the legislation, I could just hug them because they left it very, very, very broad. And that's great. So we can really, if it's a festival, we can support acts, we can support, whatever we really want to do. So the idea is to give money directly back as well as work on the marketing of the region.
So the legislature actually got it right this time?
You can say they always get it right, but they got it especially right on this one. Let me say that.
Good, Steve. Oh, I'm sorry.
No, I'm good. Yep.
So just to kind of piggyback on that conversation, as you other towns join, and comparatively, and I guess from an equity standpoint, we've got an Ashland that's got 1 hotel.
Yep.
And we've got a Natick that's, I'm not sure how many, but several. 4?
4.
And we have Marlboro coming in that's got 10, whatever. So how are you going to manage that kind of equity of?
We're going to try really hard to keep everybody happy. And part of because I'm going to have the same discussion with the Natick Selectboard, and I've had individual discussions. Frankly, I can't sit here and tell you you're going to get the exact percentage of dollars back. But what I can tell you is, and working with Beth, working with the Natick Development Office, again, we're family. We want to support what you're doing, and if you've got great ideas, we want to support that. And so it's a matter of just figuring out how to work together and make it work. But we're paying very close attention to make sure everybody kind of gets their fair share.
I just want to also jump in and say one of the things that we're doing.
Yeah, come on.
Yeah, because a lot of people can't hear you. can hear, hon. Thank you.
I want to make sure they hear all the great information as well.
Thank you. I just wanted to add that one of the things that we're doing at the Bureau is we're adding to our website some more itineraries, as I was talking about earlier about connecting those dots for people. So even if we have more communities join, the spirit of this marketing district is very collaborative. And so we're really going to be trying to say, for example, even if you're coming to a big sporting event in Marlborough, one of the itineraries might be, so come to that sporting event in Marlborough and then spend the night here and then eat over there, you know, and so really, again, trying to just create this picture of all of Metro West being a place that you can explore. And we'll certainly be highlighting Ashland as a part of that.
Well, thank you. You know, of course, we always want more than our fair share, but, you know, that's a different conversation.
Before you do that, I have a quick question for you, Steve, and I appreciate everything that's being said. I talk about fair and equitable. Natick is, you know, part of family, Ashland's part of this, you know, immediate family aspect of it. We only have 58 rooms compared to their 640 rooms. So when the monies come in, is it prorated per room?
It's, no, the way the monies come in, it's whatever the taxable amount on that folio is.
Mm-hmm.
It's a 2% off the bottom, regardless of.
The number of rooms?
Yeah.
Okay.
Exactly. Yeah.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, it's on actual receipts.
Okay, thank you, I appreciate that. Michael, I know you had a couple of questions.
Yes, thank you. So my first question is with regards to the budget. What do you, if revenues do not turn up the way that you anticipate they're doing, what would be the first thing to go, I guess you could say? Where would you start looking at making reductions? Because you've got no wiggle room in the budget right now, it looks like.
Yeah. Budgets are estimates at this point, so the one thing we're committed to is that 60-40 split I talked about. So if it's $100,000, then $60,000 goes to marketing, $40,000 goes to local support. So that isn't going to change. Basically, when you look at that 40%, we would just have less money to give out to people requesting. So it would have to be a little sharper pencil there. On the marketing side, Aaron, do you want to talk about what may go first?
I think the thing is that this TDMD is really a bonus or icing on the cake. So the Bureau and what we're doing right now with the state money is sort of our baseline, and we'll continue doing that. But again, it has its limits because of whatever we get from the state. So this budget that we've created for you is really to say, if this much comes in, this is how much will go out. If it doesn't come in, we just wouldn't be able to do things with it. The marketing, I think we would still continue with the baseline things that the Bureau is doing as part of the state.
And then my second question, nobody likes to think about this stuff when we talk about getting into it, but let's just say for whatever reason it's not working out for any of the parties involved. How would a community then get out of the district?
Yeah,
I'm assuming there's a provision.
Sure. The legislation is really clear about that. So each year we have to give, we're going beyond the state requirement, providing you with an annual report, including a financial audit. Secondly, there's a 30-day window each year that any hotel or town can call the question and bring it back up for a revote. So there's 30 days to appeal every year.
Okay, I don't anticipate that. It's just I
Yeah.
wouldn't be doing my job if I didn't ask the question.
Absolutely.
So,
Thank you, Michael. You can stay next week.
thanks, Joe.
Any additional questions, comments? I greatly appreciate the presentation this evening. It sounds very formidable. It sounds like something that we look forward to get into. It's always nice to have some extra cash that comes in when it comes in, and hopefully it will come in. Keeping our fingers crossed on this. Do we need to act on this evening, the way this just came tonight? Is this something that we need to vote on tonight? Or
We
do
would be the first if we did so.
I understand. That's why I'm saying, do we need to give it to the next meeting to take a vote on it?
I don't think so. We got this information before, wait a minute, we
Okay,
got this
so
information
previous
before another meeting, we just didn't get to
We
put
just
it on
didn't
the
get to put it on.
agenda.
Okay,
And I think it's a pretty straightforward
okay.
item.
Just formality-wise, more than anything else.
Just to clarify, Peter, you can probably answer this. Part of our backup included a document that Javier had signed, so that was just confirming that Framingham State University is, right.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Everybody got a copy of that, right? Okay, just want to make sure. Okay, good. Well, if that's the case, then I will entertain a motion.
I move that we approve the petition to the Select Board for the Town of Ashland to approve the formation of a tourism destination marketing district as presented.
Second.
Any further discussion? Brandy? No? Take a vote. Brandy, go.
Aye.
Steve?
And Mitchell, aye?
And Greaves, aye.
Mignani, aye. That's 4-0 with the one absent. So, get to work. No, thank you very much for the presentation, and we look forward to it. Thank
And
you.
we'll reach out to Natick Select Board to let them know that we've already done it, so.
Thank you, guys.
Tell them we took all their money. Right, sorry. Thank you very much for your presentation. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Peter.
Thanks, Peter.
All these fees that aren't, they're not taxes, so when you book it through a letter, they don't mention them. When you check out, you see this renovation fee, that fee, it's absolutely amazing,
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
It's super sad, being upfront about it.
Right. Thanks, Peter. Thanks for bringing it up, Pete. Appreciate it. Next on our agenda is consent agenda. Is that something we can put up on the screen, or we don't need to, or do I need to read it off? Oh, no, it's big enough.
You can go ahead, I mean, we don't,
Want me to start reading
we
it?
don't have to read it because it's a consent agenda. but
Okay.
If you wanna do it.
Okay. Well, I think it'd be fair that we read it so that the people know what we're going to. Right,
We've always put it on the screen in the
Right.
past, just so it
So-
was visible.
yeah. So if we can't do that, I'd be more than happy to quickly read it over. The consent agenda, accept the regular session minutes from March 14th, 2016, March 30th, 2016, August 30th, 2016, November 28th, 2016, July 11th, 2020, June 2nd, 2021, and June 16th, 2021. Accept the executive session minutes for May 25th, 2016, August 30th, 2016, October 5th, 2016, January 3rd, 2018, September 12th, 2018, March 3rd, 2021, and June 2nd, 2021. Accept the resignation of Jamie Tripp, Associate Member of the Town Forest Committee. And Jamie, thank you for your service to the community. We greatly appreciate it and wish you well in your new endeavors. Approve the request for Christopher Brown for a block party on Winsap Road on September 11th, 2021, between the hours of 4 p.m. and 8 p.m. A rain date is September 12th, 2021, during the same hours. And the applicant has and understands that he needs to comply with all the stipulations put in place by the DPW, fire, and police departments. Accept the grant funding from Massachusetts Health Officer Association in the amount of $2,500 and $1,500. This grant will be used for COVID expenses, supplies, and salaries. Accept the 911 Department Training Grant Program in the amount of $16,444. And lastly, approve the request for Greater Lions Club to hold a White Cane Toll Road on Saturday, October 2nd, 2021, from 9 to 1 p.m. That's one of their major fundraisers in town, and they usually do Main and Union.
So a motion to accept the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, that's 4-0, one absence. Okay, very good. Moving on quickly. Old and new business. authorize the chair to sign the easement agreement with the YMCA.
Want me to go into it?
Sure.
Okay. So this is an easement that we needed to construct the Charlie Brook Trail. Many thanks to Rick McPherson and the board at the YMCA for voting to approve this. Many thanks to Jen, who did a lot of work on our end to make it happen as well. This was accepted at the last town meeting, or, excuse me, I should say, the town meeting authorized the board to move ahead with this. So you see the easement document. I think it's pretty straightforward, and so we just need a vote to authorize the chair to sign the easement agreement.
I move that we approve the chair to sign the easement agreement with the YMCA for Charlie Brook Trail.
Yeah, second?
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. That's 4-0 and 1 absent. Thank you. And I suppose I can sign that tomorrow at the office if it's available and ready to go? Okay. Great. Be happy to do it. Next on all the new business is the appointment of town council, Mead, Tallerman and Cost, LLC. Would you like to give a brief synopsis of?
I will. So a couple of meetings ago, the board performed their review of town council. During the discussion of that review, there seemed to be support to reappoint Mead, Tallerman, and Costa as town council for another year. So I've taken the liberty of drafting an appointment letter pending the board's vote. If you want to continue to move forward in the manner that you said at the last meeting.
Okay. Any questions or comments, concerns? No? We're good? Okay.
I move that we approve the appointment of town council Mead, Tallerman and Cost LLC.
Second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. That's 4-0-1. Congratulations, and look forward to working with Lisa and her group again this year. Hopefully in person. Okay. Racial equality, project updates, survey and focus groups.
Sure. I'll actually let Jen expound on this a little bit more, but I think all of you recall that we started doing some focus groups earlier in the summer. Some were well attended, some were better attended than others. What came out of that is the fact that we probably needed to expand our reach and expand opportunities for people to provide feedback. So working with Suffolk, our Racial Equity Initiative group has put together a survey that people can take if that's how they would like to participate, or they can register for, are we calling them focus groups? Or additional focus groups that we're going to be having. We have a flyer here that is already started to be distributed throughout town. What I'll do is I can send these to you. And if you could send them out to your network, that would be greatly appreciated. Jen, do you want to add?
We're trying to increase our outreach a bit, so we did an initial push early June, just as school was sort of ending and the summer started, and I feel like we missed a lot of folks. We regrouped and decided that it's more important to sort of make sure that we have some time to do outreach. So, and we also heard it's just sort of hard for people to commit an hour in the middle of the day or in the evening, and so in talking with Suffolk, the survey, obviously will self-select yourself to participate. We'd appreciate it if you participate in a focus group. They're basically the same questions. So if you participate in a focus group, you don't have to do the survey. It's just an opportunity to provide more people an opportunity to answer the questions. Very similar format. It's just you won't be able to have a conversation about it. We will leave that open through the entire month of August. So we weren't able to get our dates for the focus group in the local town pages just because of the print, but we did say, we did put the link in there for the survey. It's on our website now, so you can just click to register for a focus group, or I believe the survey is already live, so we'll just really do a big push starting next week.
Go ahead. I'm sorry, Linda.
Yeah, so it was funny, I signed up for one of the surveys, or one of the groups, figuring I'd go and listen to hear what people were saying. And I wound up doing a lot more talking than I expected because it was myself, someone from the YMCA who was also there to listen, and maybe one resident, if that. And then, you know, the two professors from Suffolk and their assistant. And so, yeah, I'm glad to hear that you are extending this, because I think it was done sort of not enough information and not enough push out. So I like the idea if we can get all the flyer. I would also say if we can get it up, I'd be willing to talk to someone and do a little interview on around the clock and push it out to as many social network areas as possible.
Absolutely, yes. So we have some planned social media outreach. We've also asked members of the steering committee to reach out to a certain number of groups so that we can have specific asks of each of, several groups in community groups or committees, so that we can try to make a broader reach, so people, if they're not paying attention to social media or checking our website, that hopefully we'll be able to reach them. Now that people are physically coming in, we've posted it at the community center and in the library like we used to, and we asked those folks to send it out to their distribution list as well.
I would also say we should reach out to the schools and see if Mr. Adams and the schools would be willing to put the flyer out through their email distribution list, because they hit a lot of different people.
Absolutely.
Any interest at the farmer's market to either, to market? We can certainly do through our mailing list, but, maybe some presence at the market might be advantageous.
Yeah, I don't think, what do they say, any news is, or any publicity is good publicity or something? So any way that we can promote this through using different vehicles, I think is important.
Sure, so let me know if I can certainly coordinate it for you.
Right, you could do, the professors came at all different times. You could schedule one for a Saturday morning at the market and promote the heck out of that.
Right. Absolutely.
One of the focus group is actually a Saturday. We did it inside of the community center only because having it at the corner spot, just traffic and people, some of the feedback that Suffolk did receive was that, it was outside, they wanted to have an inside weather. So we did it at 9:30, and then people can go over to the farmer's market. So certainly we tried to be cognizant of all the things that go on in town.
No, but I mean literally have a session scheduled at the market one Saturday. There's that space at the end.
Right, we have the town table, right?
And we have
the 10th.
Well, I think they've booked that, but there's space at the end of the market where you could probably do something.
And I think, to go to Jen's point, there's probably some sense of wanting some privacy with something like this, So maybe, you do it in the library and it's, kind of coordinated that way.
Yep.
Just a quick question, are you guys doing a virtual option too, if people want to participate in a focus group via Zoom?
Yes, so the Wednesday, we did a weekday at noon, hoping that if you're working, you're able to take a lunch break, or that way we didn't have to do early morning or evening, just to not, just knowing that people's schedules are really hectic, and so that's a virtual option.
How many focus groups are scheduled? Because I know last time they had done quite a few, which,
so in sort of looking at after action after we did it, we almost provided too many options, so you ended up having one or two people, so they consolidated, looking at sort of where the most interest was initially. We looked at 3. So again, a couple on a Saturday, a couple on a Wednesday, one in the evening in person, one virtually, and then in early morning Saturday. So hopefully catch people before they really sort of start all the errands or their day.
And I don't want to discount the survey option either. If people don't feel like they can take the time and make that investment of time to go and participate in a focus group, I think the survey does a good job of balancing brevity with substance. And so again, if people don't feel like they can invest that time going to a focus group, I'd encourage them to take a survey.
And to go to Steve's point, a lot of people like that privacy aspect of it as well. So during the survey, you don't have to sign it or whatever, and it can just get
right,
their
and
feedback
it goes to Suffolk, so we don't receive
We
it. So
don't see it,
right,
goes
so
directly
Suffolk
to
will
them, right?
we'll end up getting the raw data so that we can actually see it, and there's some demographics that we can look at, but we won't necessarily receive the survey results. And there is an opportunity, there are some open-ended questions, so that if you did want to share something more than, so most of the questions will be sort of multiple choice, but there are opportunities to share more.
Great. Thank you. Any other comments or questions? We're good? All right, moving right along. Update on the police chief process, and I see that we have, we've opted to take Badge Quest, that this is their proposal. Do we have to vote on this? Or?
No. So this is,
Yeah, this is definitely
As a-
an old one.
as I'm reading the agenda, I'm like, oh, that could be read a completely different way than what I had meant for it to be. We've been talking about, obviously, the process of appointing a permanent police chief. Currently, Rich Briggs is serving, and I think very well, as our interim chief right now, or acting chief. One of the things board members and I have discussed as we've kind of gone through this process, or knew that we were going to come to this process or this point, is the benefits of utilizing an outside firm versus doing everything in-house. And I thought really to have an educated discussion on that, I would pull out an actual proposal, the one that we actually used back in 2013, when we went through the process that ended up having Chief Davis come here. And just so you got a chance to look at what's provided during that process. As you see, it's about a 16 to 17 week time frame as part of this. These are now costing between 20 and 30,000, so it's not an insignificant amount of money. Trying to think, obviously some of the pros is that you have some objectivity or some distance between. You almost have like a neutral, disinterested party kind of running the show and the operations. It still allows us the opportunity to present our feedback. Also our opportunity to get community input on what people would like to see in a chief. And then one of the exercises that are performed here is an assessment center. And so a firm would generally put together an assessment center, which is basically a test of skills for different applicants who get to a certain stage in the application process. That's certainly, I would envision any process that we utilized, whether it's internal or external, we would take the opportunity to get input from key stakeholders and then input from the community and use that to formulate whatever measures that we're going to use to evaluate police chief candidates on, whether that's an external or whether we use an external person to help with that process or an internal person, or we just do it internally. But really I wanted to get the board's feedback on this and just kind of what some of your thoughts are as I'm kind of factoring in what the direction we're going to go in.
Want to go first? Go ahead.
So, clearly the, kind of the public component, I think, is going to be important in this process. And, just reviewing the proposal from 2013, that is part of this. But I think very important that we stress that. Question that I do have is the kind of the interview process. And, I know ultimately that this is your decision to make, but it seems like other communities do employ kind of almost a search committee in a sense. And, I don't know what the ideal makeup would be of a search committee. It probably is going to be a board member, somebody rank and file from the police department, citizens at large, that kind of thing. So to me, I would think we'd want to go in that route. I don't know if that's your thinking about it, but I think that would be important in kind of today's environments. So I think that, to me, the rest of it seems to be not cookie cutter, but the assessment center seems to be a pretty long-term, entrenched way of evaluating, positions like this. So, but I would think we'd also want to have some feedback into the kinds of questions we're going to ask the candidates as well. I know this proposal interviews all of us here. I think that's super important. And they probably want to, maybe have additional stakeholders being interviewed by Badge Quest. So, those kind of my thoughts.
That's very good. I think that's, I was part of that process. I don't know who else was part of that process. Of course, I was sitting on the other side of the table as a, not a participant, but as a viewer. And it was interesting to watch how it was going, because after each individual, and I think it came down to the 3 finalists, if I remember correctly, the board was able to ask, an interview and question all of them. And it was very good, because each one, by the time we all went back and discussed it, and, what do you think, and this and that and everything else, and we're almost all in line with everything that was being said and done. So it's kind of important that you do get everybody involved, especially on the board here. But I also think it's very important that those that do the interviewing, don't forget those that are gonna be supervised. I think everyone within the department should have some, because they're stakeholders in this as well. And they need to, and I think they all need to be, spoken with, about their opinions, this and that and everything else, because they're the ones that are working daily, day to day. And, it's to get that collective thought process as to yay or nay, or strong points, weak points. Who better than those people that are working day to day type of deal? So I would just make sure that that's part of that package as well. Yolanda.
I had a good conversation with Michael about this, because we weighed sort of looked at doing it internally versus bringing someone in. And as I reviewed this proposal that we got from Badge Quest last time, it made me a little bit more toward using an outside company to do it. I think the plan they lay out, the process they lay out, the decision to talk to all the different groups and all the people that are going to be involved and who might be impacted by this decision and by this hire, I think it does a couple things. It gives it a little bit more sense that it's much more impartial. And I think with how things are going on in society right now, having that, and I don't like this word, but the transparency of using an organization that doesn't seem to have any fingers on it, right? Whereas if you do it internally, it might not have the same perception from the public.
Right.
And I think, to Steve's point, having the public involved, having that discussion with the citizens as to what do you want to see in a new police chief, I think that's important. I think, Rich Briggs he's done a great job so far as our acting chief, and to have him go through this process, I think, if he then gets the appointment, and again, I don't know what's going to happen, I think it'll make it more valid from a perspective of the citizens, as well as even for him to know that it's been a more thorough process. I like the timeline they lay out, and I think when you're bringing on a new position, it's worth spending the money to do a thorough process. And one of the other things that Michael had mentioned when we were talking was, he said, a lot of times the people that they put into it are maybe older retired police officers. Well, maybe as part of our if we decide to go with them, or I know we have to put out an RFP, when they go to do and select who's going to be part of the process from their perspective, we can say, can you try to include either younger people or people who have a different perspective on policing? Because I think how people look at policing is changing. Mm-hmm. So we want to make sure that when we hire a new chief, there's someone who can do what is being done now, but also can move and change and look at different ways and sort of think outside of the box in what we want for a police chief for Ashland.
Good point. Brandy?
So I would agree. I completely agree with Yolanda. I think that as I read the proposal, and obviously I wasn't part of the last round of searches, but I liked how thorough of a process it was. It the public input, I think, is incredibly important. I think that it seems like a third party would cast a wider net than possibly we could internally. Maybe that's not true, but my thought is that the way that they had laid out a 16, 17-week process, it was incredibly thorough. And I think, to Yolanda's point, I think that we need to make sure that we are very thorough in how we conduct the search. So I think, personally, I think it would be money well spent to make sure we have the best candidate for Ashland, and not just a good police chief,
Yep.
but the best that we can
Yep.
bring to Ashland.
I concur. I think it's the well-spent money. And again, Yolanda, you brought up that, you know, it's not only fair to the community as a whole, but it's also fair to the individual who is currently in the acting position. And there's no biases when it comes to this, that, or anything else. Now you have an outside agency that's looking at it just as it is, as fact-based type of deal. And you want that. You don't want anything else to come into play with that, so.
Yeah, you know, I think it's all good feedback. One of the things I want to reiterate, you know, I think Rich has done an incredible job so far, and I don't want to let this discussion be interpreted by anybody out there in the public that we think that he is not doing a good job, and that's, you know, that's why we're doing this. I think there's a lot of good points that are being made. I think there are some benefits also of doing it internally, and not saying just hire from within. Obviously, there's some pros and cons with that, but just managing the process internally, I think there's some benefits to that. But I wanted to have the conversation with the board and kind of get your feedback and thoughts on it, and this has been very helpful.
Yeah, it seems also, Michael, that using a firm like BadgeQuest or any of the other firms out there, that they just draw from a much wider pool as well. So the opportunities for just are greater. So, and I agree completely with Yolanda's comments, particularly about the kind of the validation of the process. I think that's really an important component here.
I don't disagree. Agree 100%.
Okay.
Sounds good.
Good. So I will hope to have a full process put together at one of our meetings in August.
Okay. We don't have to vote to give Michael the authority to use BadgeQuest or anything of that, right?
No.
Okay.
Well, just to question that, I mean, there are other organizations, and are we going to look at, competitive quotes on something like this?
Don't we have to put an RFP out
We have to put out
for
an
this? Yeah, so,
Okay.
yeah, we'll put the RFP out and then we'll get different proposals back.
Yeah, we had 3, I think, from the last.
And we picked
Generally very
BadgeQuest.
much the same.
Mhm.
We had 3 at the last time. Like I said, generally, they're very, very similar in scope, so.
Okay. Thank you. All right. Discuss the stormwater issue from Legacy Farms in Hopkinton.
Okay. So again, one might be asking, if it's happening in Hopkinton, why is it on an Ashland Select Board agenda? Which would be a fair question. Unfortunately, as we know, all too often, projects that happen in other communities have a regional impact. And, the same thing for projects in Ashland. It has a regional impact. And so this Legacy Farms project in Hopkinton has had several, and I think we could classify them as negative impacts, whether, some you could call inconveniences, like increased traffic. But this one is a little bit more serious. Unfortunately, the contractor who's building out part of Legacy Farms, it pretty much abuts the Hopkinton Reservoir, which of course we get our wells, or our water from wells underneath there. And so what we have seen as that project has gone on is really, and we've had to increase the use of our treatment chemicals and things like that over the winter. So a good example, we usually have an ozone filter that's usually we have that rest during the winter months. But I don't know, I mean, sometimes you'll see comments on Facebook every now and then, or other social media, where people are talking about the water and like it smells funny or it looks funny. A lot of that can be attributed to manganese. And so one of the ways that you treat that is you use ozone or O2. And so we've had to increase our usage of that. After this last storm event, we Elsa, where we had the public safety building washout, there was also a very serious breach at Legacy Farms. And what we saw was that water was carrying silt, sedimentation into the reservoir. And Doug and Dan Maurer both believe that and our water treatment plant operator both believe that is contributing, heavily contributing to some of the issues with our drinking water, which again aren't safety issues, but certainly the finished product we want to be representative of. We want it to look externally the way we know it is internally. And obviously it's costing us more to treat as well. Hopkinton pays a portion of that, but still we bear the brunt of it. So what has happened is that our Conservation Commission and Hopkinton's Conservation Commission have issued cease and desist work orders for the project. They have also enacted enforcement orders. I do think it's going to need to get discussed. What already has been at the town manager level, but quite possibly we might need to bring the boards in to have a discussion about this, because I think we're going to need to look at some pretty severe sanctions, I think, in order to get this under control and to get everybody to take it seriously. So I just wanted to brief you on that.
What's the time frame right now, Michael? I mean, if this, there's a cease and desist order, so they're not doing any work, at least in that area.
Hopefully.
And so what's the process here, and when are the Conservation Commissions going to determine their course of action, and when would we potentially meet with the Select Board?
Well, the Conservation Commissions, I'm sure, are going to have this on their next meeting as well. And I do know that at least members of our Conservation Commission went to the Hopkinton Conservation Commission the next night and brought this up too. So, and Norman and I have exchanged calls and emails. So everybody is aware of it. Again, getting everybody to take it as seriously as we're taking it is another thing. So I think what we'll look at is what we can accomplish through the enforcement order process and through the Conservation Commission process. The next step, I think we need to ask Hopkinton to be a little bit stricter on Legacy Farms. Maybe look at not issuing occupancy permits until this is resolved to everybody's satisfaction. I do know that one of the things that we're talking about is getting having Legacy Farms pay for an outside scientist, outside consultant to come and give us input and help provide basically a management plan for this. So, and I think everybody's on board with that. So we'll see if that makes it into the enforcement order. I think we would all support that and move on from that point.
Well, I'm not sure that whatever happens, I just want to make sure that it's not affecting our water supply in any way, shape, or form, because if it affects us, it's affecting theirs as well. And the last time I had the conversation with Doug, and I think you were present as well, they were talking about the ozone filters maybe being used once or twice a week. Now it's every day. Did you mention that? I'm sorry, I was out of the room. I'm sorry. So, I mean, to me, that's a concern. That is a big concern. So, hopefully we can, that can get resolved in some way, shape, or form. But it's not going to be an easy task.
No, there's a lot of work that needs to be done. This isn't just like putting some flock logs in.
Oh, no.
And,
Well, what they're doing for construction is right above the reservoir. I mean, it's amazing what they've done up there, and they clear cut and cut stuff, and it's crazy the number of homes that are up there.
I don't know if you had the opportunity to go up there. We drove up there the other day. It was actually that Sunday after we had all that rain. And there's a one back water basin that's right to the top. I mean, if we had any more rain, and if you look at the location of it, it was like, holy mackerel. It's right back down into where we were, looking right at the water treatment facility in that area. So that's it needs to be corrected, and you're right, they need to take it seriously. I don't know if they really are or not, but, wow.
Well, hopefully it doesn't get to the point where there's legal action that needs to be taken.
Let's
but,
hope not.
You know, that would be unfortunate. But I think we need to be prepared to do that if
And
that's what it takes.
are we getting the sense that, obviously, our Conservation Commission is taking it seriously, that Norman is taking it seriously, and it's been brought to their select board, and they're
I don't
willing
know
to
if it's
work
been
with us,
brought
or-
to the select board
Okay.
yet. I don't know if it's been brought to their select board.
Okay.
But,
I'd have no problem sitting down with the chair along with Michael and Norman and with Hawkington's chair to sit down and say, you know, collectively, let's work together on this. And
chair to chair, or someone, you know, doesn't
Right.
necessarily be chair. I know one of the members of the select
Yeah.
board that I can reach out if you want.
I'm fine with that. I think, one thing that I was gonna say that I forgot, that slipped my mind. Oh, you know, we're in a unique position now because, we are, I think the end of our IMA with Hopkinton to provide them water is a few more years. I think it's like 2024 or 2025. And so I know that they want to extend that because a majority of their water still comes from our wells. So, you know, I think that's something that we need to keep in mind and keep in the back of our mind, that, I mean, collaboration here is beneficial for everybody, not just now, but in the future. And, but that's one point I wanted to make.
We're good. Any other questions or comments with respect to the issues up there off of House Street? We're good? Okay. Thank you. Moving right along with old business. Where am I? Go ahead. Yep,
All right. ARPA. So the next item on the agenda is really in regards to our ARPA funding that's coming in, and how some of you have thought about potentially spending it. I will tell you that we're getting 1.8 million in a direct allocation from the federal government. We're also getting 3.4 million as our share of a county allocation. So it's about 5.2, $5.3 million. So I know everybody is looking at that with big eyes, and as well everybody should. But I did ask the board for some comments or some thoughts about what they would like to see this used for. And I will say that there are restrictions on the use of these funds. Part of my job is to make sure that you know, all the ideas that we have and that we want to potentially move forward with, I can create that type of tie creatively, which I can on many of the things that I've seen so far. But I wanted to start thinking about that as well. I have seen support for, in most of these I think we can certainly accommodate, land acquisition, finishing some of the projects that we currently have outstanding, the Upper Charles Trail. Operational funds, there hasn't been much support, I think, for operational funds. And that's good, because the more Brittany works on this, the less she's seeing opportunity to use these for operating funds. So that's good. We can't use it to offset the tax rate. We can't use it to replenish stabilization funds or sock it away into retained earnings. But again, those are some of the things that I've heard. And, you know, we talk about outstanding projects. You know, the downtown project, the Valentine project, the Warren Barn, obviously Upper Charles Trail, and some land acquisitions. You know, obviously there's a couple of parcels abutting the town forest. There's some related to the trail. And, you know, there's some that might come up, you know, in the next month or year that we might want to be prepared for. But that is what I have heard from everybody. Is that consistent?
I think it's consistent. Go ahead, Yolanda.
So I've been talking to a couple of other communities, and I mentioned this to Michael already. Part of what some of the other communities are doing is, yes, they're listening to the boards and committees, but then they're also having a discussion with their community and with their citizens to say, you know, this money is coming, it's, at some point, we're gonna have to pay for this money, and we're all gonna have to be paying for it, so getting input from the community. So I think some kind of listening session or an open session where we have a discussion, I think also a conversation with the school committee and how they're looking at using their dollars, because as I've mentioned to Michael, I think it's super important that when we look at these dollars, we're not adding positions that then, once these dollars run out, we're going to have to continue paying for. So I think those, for me, those are sort of two next steps, is a joint discussion with the school committee between us and, you know, between ourselves and them, but then also a discussion with the community to sort of say, okay, these are the kinds of things we can do, what do you support, and then how do we move forward with them?
So there's a time frame here as well, right? But it's fairly substantial?
Yeah, so we have to put in an initial report at the end of this calendar year, but technically we don't have to have the funds designated until 2024, and they do not have to be spent till 2026.
And we still don't know all that we're supposed to or can do with it.
Right.
That is frustrating. I know everybody's working as hard as they can at the Department of Treasury. You know, one of the things that you're trying to do at the federal government level is try to create a process for all 50 states, a similar process for all 50 states, when all 50 states have very different ways of doing things and financing, like it's the whole county government thing. Most states have legitimate county governments that they utilize.
Right.
We don't. A lot of those were abolished in the late 90s. We still have, obviously a few. But, yeah, so we have, that's the case.
Any other well-spent areas?
Did we mention, sidewalks and things of that nature?
So sidewalks and paving has definitely been up there. I think I can create a nexus with sidewalks. Paving's going to be a little bit tougher, but
Yeah, I think sidewalks is probably something that's almost universal in the community. Lots of, we've always had lots of comments about lack of sidewalks or
the condition,
rehabilitation of, right?
Right.
I agree. I think if we can do some of the sidewalks, I don't know, I had put in my list to you, like, I don't know how limited we are with 135, but being able to put in sidewalks from, say, the middle school to the community center and that whole area, I know that that's been something that, okay, there we go. Something that I know that's been on a lot of people's minds, and, having a student walk from the middle school over to the community center is it's
Dangerous.
tough. Yeah.
Well, it's worse because there's seniors that walk along 135 to get to the community center as well. So, and that was actually, sidewalks were part of the project designated for the Valentine property. As you recall, there were going to be sidewalks installed, but that obviously when that project didn't occur, but that's probably number one location.
Oh, I have to agree. I've been asking for that for quite some time, especially when we're talking about changing the intersection up there and adding the crosswalks up and sidewalks up in that area for years. So that to me, that's a number one priority. And actually, coming back from the public safety building site, walking up to the high school, the sidewalks along there, the ADA compliant ramp areas, they were made out of cement. They're all broken. So, I mean, we're not in compliance with that. So I would say, if anything, if we have those monies available, I definitely would say a crosswalk plan to get those all corrected, especially if and when the project is completed, and then we put those sidewalks in, that would just make it a lot easier up there, a lot nicer. So I'm all for it. So thank you all for your input and giving those to Michael.
So I do have one other question.
Sure.
So from a next steps and timing perspective, what are your thoughts as far as, you know, potentially getting some feedback from the community and other things, and also just starting to do some real planning with this?
Yeah. So I've thought about some of the things that you had said, Yolanda, and it looks like what some communities are doing is they're putting out a plan, like a draft plan to the community and getting feedback. So I think what we should do is in August, I think we should have a meeting with the school committee and FinCom. I can put together a draft plan based on the feedback that I've received. Hopefully after that meeting, we'll have some more feedback. We can revise this and then put it out to the community. I will say one of the things that, you know, I'm trying to graphically represent is that, you know, we have other sources of funds. As you know, we cobbled together a lot of different ones for downtown. And could we use some ARPA funds for like a project that we currently have funding for, which in turn would free up that funding for other things that doesn't have the restrictions on it. So it's kind of like that chess, or more like a jigsaw puzzle that, you know, we're trying to put together, because we do, you know, we do have opportunities. We do have other financial resources other than ARPA, and you know, a lot of things that we need to do, finish up doing.
Well, and if there are things that are covered by ARPA, and we're spending other money on that, and if we can, you know, move money around to have something for something else, I think that makes perfect sense.
And I also want to state that our state government is actually getting ARPA, their own ARPA funds. And it looks like the direction the legislature wants to go in is distributing those funds to communities for projects and things of that nature, at least a substantial portion. So there could be opportunity for some of these projects to get more. So.
My mind just went to a different location. It just went to a different location. We're good?
Yes.
Okay. All right, you're still on the hot seat. Discuss 1050 Main Street. Have we heard anything back?
You wanted to put this on the agenda. Why am I on the hot seat? Just joking. No, it's 10 to 50 Main Street, just to give everybody an update. And I think the last correspondence that we had received from Mr. Gordon, who's the owner of that property, stated that he had difficulty finding financing for the project that he had agreed to earlier. And so he wanted to see if the board would consider a higher unit count, maybe a lower a commercial square footage as well. So, you know, I think the next steps is we either put together, you know, the subcommittee. We've got the names for the subcommittee. We can bring them in and have the subcommittee meet with them. The board could also have them come in and have a discussion. You know, since the last time we've had a discussion, we've received April's report regarding some of the economic viability of the project. So I think that's certainly going to be factoring into the discussion. One thing I want to just be clear about is that nobody is advocating for taking down the granite buildings. I'm getting tired of people approaching me and saying, why are you tearing down the granite buildings? Nobody in town government has ever said that they wanted to tear down the granite buildings. We've talked about different ways of rehabbing them, keeping the facades, things of that nature. But I don't even remember if the applicant even stated that you wanted to take the granite buildings down.
Michael, he did. Actually, he
in the
did
beginning.
at the very first meeting, and that was one of the things we pushed back on immediately. And I have the list of things here that we discussed and that was important to the board. So I would challenge anybody out in the community that's, you know, misrepresenting or providing a false narrative, you know, to come before us and we can discuss it.
Yeah, it's frustrating because we spend time and energy on things that we already agree on, and so that sucks up time and energy that we can use to figure out solutions for problems that actually exist. I will say, Mr. Gordon seems very open to restoring the buildings, and he has been for a while, I think, because he knew everybody. Everybody wanted to.
First thing I said to him
Yeah.
when we had that coffee that time, you're not knocking them down. No way.
So, just a couple other things too. So, the last time Mr. Gordon came in front of us, it was January, and that was the last iteration of the plans. And so, you know, I know that when he came to see us, we had talked about potentially having this at fall town meeting, which he would need to make sure he went in front of planning board and had our support as well before moving forward to town meeting. And as part of that was going to be, you know, public forums and getting public feedback. And that hasn't happened yet. And I know that he's kind of still in the process of putting together what his latest proposal is going to look like. So, what is the possibility that it would even be ready to go to fall town meeting at this point?
I think at this point, 0. And I think he's aware of that as well. So we would be looking at a spring 2022 town meeting.
I think, Michael, you know, it's one thing if he's not ready to represent, that's fine, we understand that. There's no point having him come in if he's not ready. But one discussion we haven't had yet, was April's report. And we might want to put that on maybe the next board meeting to have a discussion and review it. And I think we'd have a better, and the community would have a better idea of what the reality is of redeveloping a parcel like that. But and I assume that the subcommittee, or at least our members, Yolanda and Rob, are prepared to meet as a group to start a discussion, but they don't know what they're discussing at this point.
Well, it's in January, when we decided to set up the working group, we had a finite number of units that the board had wanted, commercial space that the board had wanted. We had basically the tentative agreements around several things, and part of this was working out the details, mainly the design, I think, was going to be the subcommittee. Of course, now that has changed a little bit. You have Mr. Gordon, who's actually saying, well, I can't finance 200 units. I have to have 220 or 230. So the question is do we even want to go down that path? And if you want to have, the subcommittee review that and then make a recommendation on what to do, I'm fine with going in that direction. Or have that discussion with the full board, because it's kind of like the full board's goals that you were trying to achieve. Whatever your flavor is.
I'd really, and I mentioned this to Michael, I think it's time for the subcommittee to start getting together, and it's time for us to have some public forums, right? I mean, Rich Gordon is telling us what he can and can't do, but this is something that then our community is going to have to support if we want to do that. So even if we're looking to do something next spring, let's get some initial information from the public as to what they think about this project. I mean, we're getting anecdotal information from people through various channels, but we haven't had a time where we've said, okay, come tell us what you think, because I'm hearing both positives and I'm hearing people who don't want this at all, but I'm also hearing from people who support this project. So it's time to let the public give us some input and some feedback, because that may then help Rich Gordon as well, because he knows that we have to get this zoning passed if he wants to redevelop this property. So my recommendation is we do the first meeting of the subcommittee, put a plan out to start a process of having some public forums. As we hear back from Rich, at the same time, I agree with Steve, I think it's time to bring April's report to our full board so we can discuss it, because I think there's some information in there that the public needs to be aware of. And certainly we're all seeing that the need for commercial is changing, and the type of commercial that is needed is changing. So granted, we're not doing this project for 5 years out, we're doing these projects for 15, 20, 50 years out. So that's what we need to think about as we're looking at this potential redevelopment for the property.
My only comment on
Go
this,
ahead,
excuse me.
Steve. That's all right.
My only comment in response is that, what is being presented? What are you discussing? There really, at this point, is no project in front of the town, literally. And it's different than let's say tomorrow night's planning board meeting where 100 Chestnut Street is going to be discussed, which it is he's got a project in front of the planning board. He's got plans and so on. And that's something that that's tangible. Here, there's really nothing tangible. All you're going to do is confirm this person doesn't want this project and this person does, but what project are we talking about? So I would just caution jumping ahead of something that we really don't know what will ultimately be. I think, Michael, you have semi-regular contact with Rich Gordon. Find out what's going on at this point, and at our next meeting, again, recommend that we have a conversation about the report and just kind of get ahead of it.
Yeah. No, I agree with that, Steve. That's where I was going to comment. What discussion is going to be had on what design, because we don't have a design in front of us right now. We did.
Even it's just the discussion of what we as a board have said that we want to see there, right? Just that discussion in a session where people can, Michael just said it now. No one here on this board has said we want to tear down those buildings.
Right.
Right? So how many people are watching? Whereas if it's a forum and we can say, this is what we're looking at. That's what, I understand what you're saying, Steve. We don't have a specific project yet, but we know he wants to do a project.
So
That's all.
basically what you're asking is let's have a public forum meeting with this board and the town about the miscommunication and the misinformation that's been spread out there and the actualities of the things that have been said and discussed by us as a board. And to me, I would not have a problem with that.
And to get feedback, what are people thinking? To Michael's point, I had 2 different conversations on Saturday when I was at the market. I had some people were like, oh, no, we can't, what do you mean 200 apartments? But then when you have the conversation with them about what that means and what it could mean for those buildings, they go, oh, right? They look at it differently. And then as I was leaving the market, someone else said, so I hear you want to tear those buildings down. And I said, well, I don't know where you hear that because no one on the board want to tear the granite buildings down. So
Right.
it's a combination of getting feedback and also giving correct information to more people.
Not a problem.
Well, I think the last thing I would add is whether we go before the subcommittee or the board, we need to kind of establish the baseline, because we're kind of like in this no man's land right now of, okay, Rich, what are you going to do? We kind of agreed on 200 units and kind of having the discussion moving forward from there. But now you're saying something different. So let's establish the baseline and say, whoever he comes before, this is the project that we're discussing. 200 units, 34,000 square feet of commercial with the design that he last presented, which I think we all agree needs a lot of work. And we'll just do that and say, if you've got some different thoughts and changes to that, then just put it out there.
But I also think discussion of April's report
Oh, that's key.
is
Yeah.
very
That's
important because that
key.
could impact some of the decisions.
Absolutely.
But
I'm sorry.
I was just gonna say, I think that we need to have a better sense from Rich what he can do before we go to the public, because I think if Rich is going to come and say, I can't do it for less than 230 units, and, then we're going back, then it's, we kind of need to know where he stands before we go to the public, because, the public is already thinking that so much commercial is going to be eliminated. And so if we need to have a better sense of financially what Rich is actually proposing before we go to the public.
I think for me, this is somewhat similar to the UGC scenario as well. We established what our baseline was, and we stuck to our development agreement format. And I don't see this as any different, except, as Yolanda said, reviewing April's report may give us, the ability to maybe modify some of our positions in certain areas, and I get that, that's okay. But, you know, until he decides whether he wants to do a 40R or he just wants to do a development, you know, he doesn't necessarily need a zoning change to do a development on his property. So, you know, at this case, at this point, we're flying in the dark here, right?
Essentially. Okay. Would you like to bring it before the full board first, then the subcommittee, or
Are you
do it
talking
the other
about
way
April's
around?
report?
Talking about any, let's handle them all
I
together.
think it could be simultaneous. I think at our next meeting, we discuss April's report, and at the same time, have the subcommittee have their first meeting to sort of talk about, you know, make sure everyone on the subcommittee is on the same page as to what has conspired already and what we're thinking moving forward.
Okay.
Yeah, that works. Yeah, that makes sense. At least you have a definitive path to take on. That's fine.
Okay.
All
Good.
right. Thank you all. Good discussion. Next item is providing funding for a barbecue at the senior center for our seniors in the amount of $500 from the Selectmen's gift account. That's a no-brainer. I'm sorry, it's a no-brainer.
We almost put it in consent.
You know, I think just to it should be a little background here before we just automatically
Thank you.
give away money, right? I think that's the appropriate way. So really what we're doing is supplementing. The Council on Aging is looking to put kind of a end of summer barbecue together down at the pavilion. They're in the formulation stage right now. They're working with the Friends of the Council, and there was a request made during one of my visitations up there for some support. So I have information here, and they've got it broken down based on the number of seniors that plan to participate. It's going to be, I think they're trying to do it at no cost to the seniors. If they can. If they can't, it'll be minimal. But you know, when there's no cost, there'll be a lot of seniors participating. So,
And they'll
so
be
this
there
is
at 9.
really just a portion of what the total cost would be. So that's the request, and hopefully everybody sees fit to support it.
Well, if it's the end of the year celebration, did you want to increase that figure?
That was going to be my question,
I would
too.
not. I think we would want to, or I would expect the Friends of the Council on Aging to be the primary funding source here.
Okay, all
Yeah,
right.
we're just supplementing that.
Okay. Sounds
Do you
good.
have a
I'll
potential
entertain-
date?
No date yet. They're still in the planning stage. If they, you know, I think maybe they were waiting for this before they move forward with a date.
Well, I can remember years ago, we used to do them. And we would have to go out there and cook on those grills. And they'd be waiting. And they were waiting.
Early, too.
And
You know,
very early.
It's funny, Joe, you say that, because the weekly Monday lunches been going on right through COVID. They started to do live lunches as well. So it's grab and go and live. People that come live, you know, lunch isn't served till noontime. They're there at 11:15, and they're ready to go.
They're hungry, they're ready, yeah.
Well,
They're
that's
ready
like
to
the
rock and roll.
Lions
Give me that
breakfast,
box
right? We don't
lunch.
start serving until 9, but many of them, many of the
Oh, yeah.
times they're, 8:30, 9, they're sitting there.
Well, I'll entertain a motion to approve the $500 request for the senior center barbecue for us gifted seniors up there.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
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 That's 4-0 and 1 absent.
Thank you,
So,
everyone.
No, thank you for bringing it up. I think it's a great idea.
I'll let the chair of the council.
Let us know so we can go
Yeah.
Help out if
Yeah.
necessary.
Absolutely help
Available.
out.
Yeah.
I've got all
Thank you.
new utensils to cook, so I'm ready to rock. Next on the agenda is discuss providing a letter of support from the green infrastructure. This was an email. I don't know if you all got this, but I got it as chair. And it has to do with the Green Future Goals and the local leadership. And it's a sign-on letter. And it has to do with municipal capacities, and the contact person is Kerry Catton or Tim Cronin from the Green Future Now campaign. And basically what it says, it's a letter about the undersigned elected and appointed officials of the municipalities across the Commonwealth, here to support the immediate passage of the Green Future Act and achieving a green future with infrastructure for workforce investments. And it's House Bill number 3292. And as local officers, we face the realities of climate change and environmental injustice. And it goes on and on. I've read it. I thought it was a great idea to do it. I talked to, actually, I got a call from Rob Shear. Rob got a similar email. So he said he would support this as well. So did you get a copy of that?
I did.
Okay.
Yep.
I passed it out. So any comments or concerns? Or?
No, I think it's a good thing to support. I was going to say, Joe, that you were going to make Rob proud by bringing that up on an agenda tonight.
Yep. Yep. So to me, I thought it was a no-brainer, to be honest with you.
I agree.
Okay, good. So I'll,
Move that we support the signing of the support green infrastructure.
okay, great.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. That's 4-0. One unavailable. Hope he's having a great vacation.
But in spirit.
But in spirit.
Although he's definitely proud.
He's very proud of me right now, for sure. For sure. Moving right along. Priority project updates. Rail Transit District.
Okay.
UGC and Charlie Brook Trail.
So UGC, I believe they voted last night. It's gonna take a while to get used to this. So the Zoning Board of Appeals voted to approve a decision last night for UGC. Obviously, it contains everything that we talked about in the development agreement, including the buffer zones. I guess there was a little bit of confusion regarding a trail that was going to go beside the driveway.
Yeah, I watched the, and I spoke to that.
I heard. So, I did.
So it was, and it was a legitimate question, and, but, you know, I think that it was, there was confusion by the individual that was thinking that there was automatically a trail going to be placed through the buffer area. And it may or may not happen, depending on ultimately where the Upper Charles Trail configures. But, you know, what, you know, my comments were purely that my best recollection was we never discussed that as part of the project. And, but UGC did agree to, if there's a trail there, that they would provide connector points to the trail from their complex, is the way it ended. So everybody seemed to be fine with that.
Yeah, and I think, like I said, we did a lot of work with the neighborhood to try to, you know, come up with something that would be palatable for them, and I think that's all incorporated. And I think the ZBA even established some additional measures, mitigation measures as well. So I can send you a copy of the decision if you want. It's pretty boring, but.
No, I think it'd be nice to read. I think it's, we put a lot of time and effort into
Yeah.
that. Nice to see
You did.
the results come out the way we hoped it would, so.
And I'll get there's an appeal period, obviously, that goes for that. I'm not sure if the board has been privileged to be on some of the emails between the landowner and the developer or their respective attorneys. But there is, not surprisingly, a disagreement between the two. Maybe some fists will be thrown for that one, Steve, to resolve that one. But, you know, we'll see if it goes through without being appealed.
So does that, well, that'll definitely hold up the project.
If
it
there's an
goes
appeal,
through,
yeah.
Right?
Well, if there is an appeal, yes.
Wait, so the landowner is questioning the project?
Yes. Whether they had the authority to file. Yeah,
Whether UGC had the authority to file the plan?
yes. Looks at a dime, tries to turn it into 11 cents on the table.
Yep.
Yeah.
It is crazy.
So this process has been going on for 2.5 years?
At
3
least.
years.
3
At
years.
least.
And when did he determine that this was an issue? Last week?
No, I think it's been a few months prior, because I think there's been some discussions between UGC and Mr. Gaynor that we weren't privileged to be a part of, thankfully. But yeah, I mean, I think, you know the players involved, and I think once you think about it, you probably won't be surprised at all. So, and it's also important, I think, this development, obviously, we have funding coming through in terms of development as part of the development agreement. Also, when UGC closes on the property, we will also be receiving $400,000 because we had a mortgage on the property based on the MBTA road averages, or overages, I should say. So, there's, a financial piece at stake here as well.
And that's not coming from UGC though, right?
No, that would be coming from Mr. Gaynor.
Gaynor.
So,
Okay. So why can't he give us that now?
because he has to close on the property?
Oh, that's right, that's
Yeah.
right, that's right.
So quick question. So this development's 180 units. All of those are going to be counting towards our subsidized housing inventory.
That's correct.
Towards our 10%. My understanding was when it got permitted, that those numbers count towards our inventory, correct?
Once the comprehensive permit is issued, which we're well on the, I mean, obviously they voted on it, so I think we have to go through the appeal period. Once that is done, yes, we can add those 180 units to our inventory, which will give us 2 years safe harbor and make a pretty big jump
Into our,
into closer to our 10%
10%.
level. You know, the 10% level is actually very attainable if we do it smartly.
But then they actually have to be built, right, within the 2 years. And if they're not built and they don't add to our numbers, then we're
Yeah, there is
back
a
at square one.
time period, because this happened with Robert Hill Way.
Yeah.
Once the comprehensive permit was issued, actually, no, I take that back. It wasn't Robert Hill Way, it was the Petrie's project at the Valentine property. So,
oh, because they had their permit, but.
yeah, they had their
right.
permit. And then,
Well, I think that this project, I know I've been working on this since I've been on the board for over 2 years now, and I know a lot of people have been working on it before me. But I think that me personally, I feel like this is a project we can be proud of. To have 180 units dedicated to seniors and be able to have 25% affordable to our seniors, I think is a big deal. I know you had forwarded an email to us about a conversation you had with seniors over at the community center who were very appreciative of the Robert Hill Way project. I think this one might be a similar, get similar feedback, just partly because of the affordability, partly because of the community, and partly because UGC does offer quite a bit of services to the seniors that I think will be really valuable to them.
Yeah.
You know, the affordability piece is even better because it's not just at the 80% level. It's some are at the 60 and some are at the 50.
Right.
So, I think, again, we formulated a plan and we stuck to it. And, I guess it begs the question for me about, tomorrow night there's a project coming before the planning board, which is 200 units, that on Chestnut Street, and I think there's a lot of concerns about justifiable concerns about that project, and I would hope that the planning board will take a similar approach that we've taken. I mean, we won't have any direct engagement in this process, other than our own personal opinions. But I would hope that they would approach this in a similar way.
I agree.
So-
I agree. Anything else? on that?
Other than that, Trolley Brook Trail is continuing construction, thanks to Jen and Peter Matchak, who is taking this project on, at least from the staff perspective.
When do we see that getting completed and available? And
Likely late September, early October, I think. It's obviously going to be a little weather dependent, but that's what we're hoping for.
I would have said early September, so it's good that Jen said that. Yeah.
We know you like to be optimistic sometimes, and
I think we classified
not
it as
always
zealous.
realistic.
Oh, Mr.
Zealous.
You're talking
Zealous,
about,
there
you're
you
talking
go.
about Mr. Conservative over here.
Zealous. Just with dollar signs.
Oh, okay, okay.
But no, I put some pictures up on social media. I actually sent them to Rob before I did that, just because I knew he would be excited. He was excited. But it looks great. I think they're going to work on installing the bridge next that goes over the, the brook there. And one section of the Upper Charles Trail will be completed, the first section. It's a milestone.
Well, it's
It
been
is
a
a
long,
milestone.
long haul for years of efforts, and
I think I was in high school when
Yeah.
they were talking about this.
but it's been, I got to, obviously, staff has done a tremendous amount of work to get the trail to this point. And, point to Jen in particular for all her efforts. But we should acknowledge the committee as well, and they've hung in there for all these years, and want to give credit to Joel Arbeitman for his passion and his pushing for this over many years. So kudos to Joel and the whole committee.
Absolutely.
I say too, because isn't the path along Memorial Drive part of it?
I believe so.
Yeah.
Yeah, despite whether you go up on the southern side of UGC, if you go up around it,
Right.
it's going to be part of it, yeah. The
And-
multimodal path.
And Joe, you joke that you've been talking about this since high school. We actually we've been active at this for 6 years.
I know.
And as I tell anyone I talk to, Holliston took 20 years and they had an empty trail bed. So if we have ours done in 20 years without a trail bed, I think we'll be doing well.
Doing pretty well.
Yeah.
Oh, no, I agree. I agree.
So that is all I have on the rail transit district. Downtown, I just want to give everybody an update on construction. So Geosio is going to, basically, they're still in the process of installing vaults and conduit in Main Street and Front Street. So as part of that, we're going to have to reroute traffic. Hopefully it hasn't been too upsetting to people. I thought they've done a pretty good job of laying it out, and we've tried to put out construction updates so people know and are not surprised. But anyway, they're continuing to trudge forward.
I have a question. Can we consider, or should we consider, actually detouring people? I mean, I know, if you come down in front of Town Hall when they were doing that construction, wouldn't it have made sense to detour people to Cherry Street, and especially if they're going to Pleasant Street or something like that?
Well, we have detoured people. So for example, when they were working a lot on, and it's actually still a detour. They're working alongside where Main Street becomes Myrtle Street. So what they've been doing is detouring people down Ray Marquetti and then onto Concord and then
Okay.
then that way.
I haven't
Looping
seen
around.
any of the detouring. I've just seen, single lane and then not always paying attention to the lights. Same with 126, right? I mean, and I know we're gonna talk about that, but, you sit at the light from Elliott Street onto 126, and because they're down by the roundabout, they're not watching the traffic there, so the light turns green for the people to cross 126, and you have traffic sitting there because they haven't let them through, so.
So yeah, I know that they're constantly evaluating traffic, TMPs, traffic management plans, another acronym I get to throw in there. So it's it's something that they're always actively looking on, and we meet every Thursday and have a discussion about that. Okay. So that is that on downtown. Let's see. So the next is public safety in Mendez. So the public safety building, I think anybody who's driven by there has seen that, concrete's going up. Even some of the high walls are going up. We've been advised that probably, in August, we're going to see steel.
Second week in August, they anticipate starting to erect steel.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's obviously a new stage and something that we can be very excited about. As I think everybody knows, we did have a significant runoff event, stormwater runoff event during the storm. I went by it. It was pretty bad. So we met with the Concom at their next meeting on Monday night, and acknowledged the fact that whatever was constructed, even though it was constructed to plans, it wasn't sufficient enough for a storm of that magnitude. So our contractor and our project manager, they put together a new, basically a new plan with some enhanced stormwater control methods. And Concom and Joe and Steve and myself, we went out with them on Saturday to do a site walk, kind of make sure that everything was okay and that the plan was okay. And so we expect to receive approval on that at the next Concom meeting. So it's the way the process should work out. Nobody was trying to do nobody was negligent by any means. We followed the plan that everybody thought was going to be sufficient. It turned out that it was not. You go back, you revise the plan, and you see if that works. So I don't know if you guys wanted to.
I just want to say that the people that we've contracted, CTA, HKT, PAR, I couldn't be any more pleased with their expertise and their work and devotion to this project. We're definitely getting our money's worth from this group, and they take it just as serious as we do. And this is their pet baby right now too. So they take their pride into seeing this structure going up and working diligently and making sure that it's done properly and not just another job and giving it a number and moving on. So I'm very happy with them.
Yeah, I agree, Joe. I think we're all pleased with the on-site folks that are there, and we've had a chance to meet them several times now, and I think we're in good hands, certainly with Vertex and our project manager on-site, Bill Nangle. Earlier tonight, I had an opportunity to talk to our building commissioner, Doug Scott, for a little bit, and there's inspections are a huge piece of this project, and Doug is out there every day, if not multiple times a day, and he's working on our behalf.
Right.
And then we have other inspection services that are inspecting the concrete, the site materials, the waterproofing components. We've got another consultant that's inspecting the ledge aspects and the groundwater aspects. So it's a pretty involved, comprehensive project.
Yeah. Mr. Scott seeing any issues, or is he satisfied with what he's seeing up there?
Yeah, so he just goes, so as part of the concrete process, and we're required to have that third-party inspector.
Yep.
So to sort of help make sure that we're moving that along, he starts his morning there every day, and then he does an afternoon inspection as well, so that we're able to continue to move that project along.
Nice. Thank you. All
But
right.
he's not averse to having them correct things if
That's
he
true.
needs to.
Yeah.
So. Okay, and with the Mendez School, they were scheduled to be on the planning board's agenda, or they were on the planning board's agenda last Thursday. Unfortunately, we had some technical difficulties, and so we had to postpone that. So that meeting is going to happen tomorrow, where they're going to go through the planning board review process. One of the things that we're doing is I think there's been some discussion about a pipe that leads onto an abutter's property. So what we're going to do is we're going to camera that pipe and see exactly where it goes and hopefully address those concerns.
They've also, they have a meeting set up with design review and with Concom.
So they're going through the permitting process now. And it's a tightrope because we don't have much time. You want to give the project as much time as you can for review, but at the same time, we have to be cognizant of some of the timelines that we have.
Kudos to the committee and Paul for moving that project right along and keeping it on track.
Trying to.
Thank you. All right.
let's see, Route
126. Yep.
So they're gonna be continuing to work between the Holliston line and Elliott Street. So they're in the process right now of installing the new drainage. They're in the process of, you know, I'm the one who has the most trouble with this, and I didn't think that was gonna be the case. So again, they're continuing work between the Holliston Town Line and Elliott Street. They're in the process of installing new drainage. Unfortunately, they're encountering a lot of ledge. They were using the HORAM on that. I think the subject of blasting was brought up again. I'm not necessarily sure if it's gonna go anywhere, but obviously, we have to make the residents aware of that. They know that we need to give them ample time. We need to get surveys prepared and stuff like that if we go down that road.
Is that by the roundabout?
It's close, yeah.
Close to it? Okay.
Yeah. They really don't want to blast, but
It's, as you come around from Holliston, come around the corner.
Yep.
That hill there from.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Got it.
and hopefully they'll, you know, the goal is to start paving around that area mid-August. So exciting times.
They've done some preliminary paving, so it's not like it's dirt road like it was for a couple days.
Right, right. Yeah, they'll put like a temporary thing on it to keep the dust down and everything. Then they'll go rip it back up, and then we'll get complaints. Why are you ripping it back? Well, it's just a very temporary
Top coat.
Top coat. So
Do you have to say the emails that have been going out? If people are living on 126 and they're questioning it, make sure you go to the DPW site and sign up for those emails, because they're very informative and they've been really good.
I would agree. Communications group, Ashley, Beth, working with Doug, they've done a really good job. And the next on the list is the Valentine Project, and I would probably, I'm gonna ask Brandy and Steve really to start that one off, because we had a meeting of the Conservation Restriction Group. So don't forget to press your microphone.
So we had a meeting of the subcommittee a couple weeks ago, and this meeting was really designed to get a understanding of the legal ramifications of the property based on Article 97 legislation, as well as community preservation legislation as well. And so we had Lisa Mead was provided the information. I would say we had about 10 folks that were part of the meeting. And so Lisa went through some of the limitations that we have to deal with relative to Article 97 land, two of which are that she has determined that we can't sell Article 97 land, nor can we lease Article 97 land. Excuse me?
Long-term lease.
Long-term lease. So we can do short-term leases. Those are, there's examples of short-term leases. One thing that we are able to do is create licensing agreements. This is the short story. If we're, you know, to get, I think, a better rendering of this, we'd have to have Lisa come in and really explain it to us. But you know, those are some of the things. And one of the questions we had as part of this conversation was, well, we have restrictions that we're required to do through CPA, both historical preservation and then a conservation restriction. Is that a redundancy of restrictions? Does you know, Article 97 and CPA need to both apply to one piece of property? So we talked about that. You know, honestly, our charge is very simple. Our charge is to create a draft to bring back to the board. You know, it's not to make a recommendation about what we do with anything else, what we do with the barn, what we do with finding holders of the restrictions. One thing Lisa did say, and this is something the board is going to have to deal with, we should be looking for holders for these restrictions. And, you know, that's something that my understanding was we should do it concurrently. And But again, that's not our charge. Our charge is to create that document and bring it back to the board with, the prohibitions and the allowances that we work out through this process.
And the only thing I would add to that is that, because initially we were thinking that if we were not the owner of the property, that the town could be the holder of the restrictions. And based on Lisa's research, that won't happen. So we will need to find an external holder of the license.
That's true. I think, I'll just elaborate a little bit on what Steve talked about with regards to Article 97. I think the question is Article 97 adds some protections and also adds some complications. And I think the question is do the protections that it does provide, they are redundant, but there's some protections, I think, outside of that. Is it worth keeping it in Article 97 status because of those extra protections, or does the limitations of it lend itself to try to potentially remove the Article 97 status? And there's a very, it's a very high bar to get out of Article 97. You have to have a unanimous vote of the Conservation Commission, 2/3 vote of town meeting, 2/3 vote of the legislature. So I think that was definitely a topic of discussion too.
Not a simple process.
So what are the next steps? Where are you at with, I know you've had the one meeting. What's the follow-up and what's your process, you think?
So actually, this was our second meeting, and so what we decided was moving forward, we have through the state, they have a template that's utilized for creating a restriction document. And so both Brandy and I are going to work independently on a document, and we have, at least from a starting point, we have a pretty good idea as to what allowances we want for the property. And that's the key thing, is what do we want allowed for uses on the property. So we, by virtue of the Valentine Committee, we've got a pretty good idea from there. And then, various discussions that have occurred. And, and it's really in the way, so the process will be, we'll work independently on this document. We'll come together at our next meeting. We'll start to send things to Lisa to review. She will work with the state entity that reviews this, oversees it. And as all these types of things occur, there's a back and forth. So that's really the next steps here.
Great, thank you.
And then the idea is, once we have a draft document that we present to all of you, then we would keep it in draft form, work with potentially getting a holder who would then agree to what would be in the agreement before it would be finalized. So it would be kind of a collaborative process at that point too.
And we also want to, we want to incorporate, certainly feedback from the Historical Commission, from Conservation Commission as well as part of this, since they typically are involved with these restrictions. So that'll be part of the process. But having been involved with the Warren Woods process, that took several years.
Yeah.
So, this isn't something that's going to happen
overnight,
right?
no.
So,
Right.
so that's where we're at.
Well, thank you for all your work. No, it's not simple or easy. Great, Yolanda.
Question, not necessarily just for the Valentine project, but we do have other parcels that need CRs. Is there any way to tie the work that you guys are doing on the Valentine to our other parcels that need it? And is it time to discuss recreating the Conservation Restriction Working Group? One, to work with you guys if you need it, and or just to get these other CRs moving forward, because as we know, they do take some time.
Actually, I've put that on the strategic plan draft for some of the outer years, like 24, 25. One of the ones that we do need to do sooner rather than later is 125 Front Street. So, you know, if we are going to choose to work on one that's other than the Valentine, that's the one I would recommend that we work on.
I think also, you know, when we were, after our public safety meeting yesterday, we were chatting, and you had a copy of the Open Space and Recreation Plan from 2010. That's the most current plan that we have. And I would suggest that this is all part of that, and we need an updated plan. I'm not quite sure what the issues or challenges are, whether it's at the state level. We really haven't had any communication from the Open Space and Recreation Committee about this. So I think the community is due for an updated plan. I'm not sure how we want to handle it at this point, but, you know, I think that should be our expectation.
At least an update from the committee as to what is going on with it, because pretty soon they're gonna have to start another one.
Yeah, sounds like charter review.
Well, I mentioned, a couple of months ago, I mentioned that to Michael, that
Charter review is
Charter
like a year
review is
behind.
due.
Is a year
Yeah,
behind. Yeah, it's
yeah.
a year behind. Don't look at me.
COVID put a kink
COVID
in a
put a
lot of
kink in
different
it,
things,
yeah.
so I think we got a little bit of time.
No.
Yeah, I think we are. I just go back to my review process and kind of the underlying theme, which I agree 100% is, you know, trying to get some of the current projects that we have going on and
get 'em
open,
done.
get those done, and then we can move on. So that's, just take that for what it's worth.
Sounds like an echo. I thought I said that yesterday.
Yeah. And I don't, so it just had a couple of things under town manager reports. First, I just wanted to let you know about a personnel thing. Obviously, we've had some shifting around in the facilities department. I think the most recent one was when David Foster retired. So looking at filling that position, we will be filling like a capital projects manager position at some point in the future. But we needed to have basically a maintenance tech to replace Jordan Valland, who decided to take a job closer to home. So we've hired Jeff Bell, who a local here from town, who actually was a member of our DPW, and he's just done remarkable work. I've heard nothing but great things. You can see some of his handiwork up there.
Yes.
And so we're really looking forward to seeing what he can do and continue to do.
Awesome.
And then also the one thing I wanted to say, and Jen, you could probably elaborate on this more, is that we do now have the capability to offer more technical support at the community center and the senior center through a program that Candy came up with and devised. So do you want to elaborate on the whole iPad thing?
I can quickly, there is an acronym and it's escaping me right now, but there is a program, we received a grant that allowed us to purchase some iPads and tablets that would allow seniors to be able to connect remotely. So obviously we're moving more into sort of in-person programs, but if there are seniors that are still uncomfortable, we have some access to technology, and with that comes some training. We can help sort of set it up. There is some connection components to the grant. It's been slow to sort of roll out, and so if you know seniors that may have some needs, certainly reach out to the community center, and Candy Wilson will be happy to help you, or obviously Joanne or Anna, or anyone else at the community center.
And that's what I have.
Thank you, sir.
Can I ask a quick question
Sure.
before we move off of town manager reports? I was curious, we haven't had a COVID update in a while, and I'm sure Sergeant Berman is still working as head of our task force. And with the COVID spikes that we're seeing across the country and even in the state, I was curious, are we still doing the regional vaccination clinics? Is that, or how are people, what's the best way for people to get vaccinated if they haven't already? And sort of if there, is still sort of COVID-related functions that are happening in town that people should be aware of?
Well, the last vaccine clinic that we had as part of that round was what, like 4?
The end of June.
Yeah, 4 weeks ago. So I think Sergeant Berman is looking at the capabilities of, doing something like that in the future, regionally, whether it's with the same group or with a smaller group. We're looking at enhancing our own capabilities in-house by hopefully getting some grants for different equipment, like refrigerators and things of that nature. I think you're right. We probably should have an update soon about what's going on in the community in terms of cases, see if we see any of some of these similar cases that are happening where there's vaccinations. People were getting the Delta variant or whatever, even though that they're vaccinated, and just kind of get a better handle on that.
He did, I watched the Board of Health meeting the other day, and he does, obviously, he gives the Board of Health an update every meeting, and he didn't indicate at the meeting that he was seeing or we are seeing any real spike at this point. Now, that could change. I mean, this is dynamic, evolving situation.
Did he mention anything with respect to families letting their children get vaccinated, and is there a total or a tally, a number of children that received the vaccine?
So people over 12, you mean?
Yeah, people over 12.
Yeah, so, I mean, we don't have it right in front of us, but we are able to have, we can get that data from the state, so whether we're providing the vaccine or they're getting it in other places.
Okay.
We're able to pull that down, and they do it by demographics in terms of age. Just to answer Brandy's question, though, so Sergeant Berman is still actively monitoring all of our cases. We're still doing contact tracing, sort of making sure that we don't have trends. He still talks to all the other communities too, because obviously if there's a potential outbreak in a neighboring community, we want to know about it. And so all of those things continue to happen with the regional group that we've sort of built a strong partnership with.
Where do folks go now for vaccination?
I believe the state website's still up, and then obviously the local CVS's and local Walgreens and other pharmacy places that still have them. And I think they have open. My understanding is that there isn't a huge demand necessarily for the appointments, so I think they're available. I mean, if people have questions, certainly they can call the COVID hotline still, or they email or to call Sergeant Berman.
It's pretty interesting now. So I think all of you know my daughter just celebrated her 12th birthday, and I guess the big thing you do now is you go get vaccinated on your 12th birthday. So that was kind of like, yeah, you thought driver's license was the thing, No, it's getting your COVID shots. So COVID parties.
Yeah.
Well, never seen the kids so happy to get a shot in my life.
That's cool. You all set, sir? Well, thank you very much. Board reports. Yolanda?
A couple things. So as we talked about earlier in the meeting, Culture Fest is this Saturday from 12 to 5 at the corner spot. Oh, sorry.
Thank you. I got a reminder to push. As we talked about earlier in the meeting, Culture Fest is at the corner spot this Saturday from 12 to 5. A lot of great musical acts, as well as food and beverage and lots of fun things. So make sure you come down for that. Tomorrow morning, I have a Metro West Regional Collaborative meeting via Zoom. We'll be doing board elections and working on the work plan as to what the collaborative is working on. That ties into an event that is happening on Thursday, August 12th, that is sponsored by the Regional Collaborative. It is a trail event happening at Cochituate State Park from 8:30 to 11, talking about the regional plan to connect all these trails. And then after the meeting portion, we're actually going to walk on the new section that is going over Route 9 and over by Home Depot for the Cochituate portion. Yeah. So yeah, a lot of exciting things going on with trails in the region. And that's all I have.
Thank you. Stephen?
Thank you. So just a couple quick things. The Metro West famous Ashland Farmers Market is in full swing. We're in the middle of our season. And at this point, we very much have a a normal market going on with music and activities and, you know, still great vendors and good food. And so we've had great attendance and great weather this year. So we thank the community for all their support. And then lastly, I just wanted to comment how nice it is to be here in this room after basically a year and a half, and how great it was to start our meeting tonight with the presentation to Ed Bates and having his family here and having you know, kids laughing and you know,
Yes.
adults laughing, and it was just a great way to start. So, but next meeting, I am going to report back on the difference between a rotary and a roundabout.
Okay, we're going to hold you to it. Ms. Brandy.
Thank you. So just to piggyback on what Steve just said, I just also wanted to say thank you to Paul Bowden and the folks at WACA and Paul Carpenter, our IT folks, for all the work that they did to make this hybrid model work, because we had gotten quite a bit of feedback about going back in person, and not everyone was comfortable doing in-person citizens participation and remote participation. So thank you to everyone that had worked so hard to make it work, because I loved seeing the screen with people on there. It's great. So I think it worked really well. I think it worked really well tonight, so thank you. And the only other thing I wanted to add was the Ashland Business Association is hosting their regional barbecue at the YMCA, and that's going to be August 3rd. And it's open to, it's a regional event. It's so good to be thinking that we're going back to that type of event. So I would encourage, I'm going to be there, so if anyone else would like to go, please register. And it's a great event, and it's at the YMCA, which is always good too. I did hear that I did hear that their annual Advocacy Day had been rained out, which I wasn't going to be able to attend, but I had a conversation with them, because that's a fun day. That's a good day. Yeah. So
there is another event that hopefully you got the invite to on, I think it's July 30th, actually happening at the Y in Framingham, with some artists, ties into Hopkinton Center for the Arts. If you didn't get it, let me know, and I'll see about getting it
Peter
forwarded.
had mentioned it to me, but I hadn't
Yeah.
I hadn't received it. So
Okay.
yeah. So thank you. Okay, that's all I got. Thanks.
Well, thank you. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Real quick, summer concerts this Tuesday coming. It's a local band. Lead singer is Adrienne Galani, and I'm trying to think of the name of her band. It's something Players. It'll come to me.
Five play.
Hot Play?
Five play.
Five Play, that's it. Five Play. And they're good. They're very good. Hope you'll join them. And the other thing is our famous fundraiser for Ashland Day and the events that we provide is our corn sales over at Lucky Farms. Oh, it's incredible. We started last weekend. We've already sold 8 bags of corn. I mean, 8 bushels of corn. It's incredible. Now each bag has like 12 dozen. So, oh my God.
So you get a fresh thing every day?
Every day.
or
It comes in every day.
What time
We get it every day.
does it get there?
We get it there by 10:30, 11 o'clock every day
At Lucky Farm?
at Lucky Farms, yep.
Okay.
So, and then, of course, the snack shack is now open between 11 and 1. And so we hope you come and say hi to everybody that's down there. And that's it. I'd just like to welcome everybody back. I thought this was a very good meeting. It was nice to see people out here for the first time, and people sitting in their homes and in the comfort of their homes virtually. If you have any questions or concerns, I'm sure we'll hear about it tomorrow. And no problem. We'll take everything that we can, the good and the bad. So with that, I will definitely entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And look we beat the 10 o'clock.
We didn't have to go for past 10.
I'm pushing it, man. I'm pushing.